Chapter 126. Chapter 126. Back to she and Qin only drank 2 cups of the best pu or tea. It was a pity that it was wasted. He didn't expect that the beautiful Qin, who seemed to be otherworldly, had such a capricious side. Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After a while, the old housekeeper came down and saw Qin sitting on the sofa alone in a daze. He walked over slowly and said, "Little Qin, did you make Qin angry?" "Uncle Rong, she bullied me," Qin said helplessly, as if he was complaining to his teacher. The old housekeeper was nearly 60 years old, and Jiang Xianbang respected him very much. In the early years, he followed Jiang Xianbang and was also stained with some evil qi and lost some virtue. Like Jiang Xianbang, he had no wife and children. He had helped Jiang Xianbang a lot, and even helped him block 2 bullets. Fortunately, he survived. As he was old, Jiang Xianbang didn't want him to run around outside. He also planned to retire, so he stayed in this garden house and took care of some trivial things at the same time. This time, he helped Jiang Xianbang deal with these antiques and cultural relics. For Qin, Uncle Rong and Jiang Xianbang treated her as their own daughter. They had always loved this girl, so they smiled and said, "Qin, you have to coax her. I won't spoil her temper. She could do whatever she wants," Qin said coldly. After calming down, Qin thought of business. He looked up at Uncle Rong, who was a little hunchbacked, and said, "Uncle Rong, Uncle Jiang went to Hong Kong. I'm afraid that someone will harm Qin. Do you need to arrange some people? After all, I also have something to do. I can't always follow him." The old housekeeper, Uncle Rong, smiled faintly. Qin also had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. He replied, "You don't have to worry about this. Old Jiang has arranged it." Hearing this, Qin was completely relieved. He nodded silently and said, "That's good." After leaving Middle Huaihai Road, Qin had already made an appointment with Xin to go to Fudan University to see her. He had thought that after returning to Shanghai, he would have more time to accompany Xin. However, he did not expect that the 2 of them had only seen each other so far. Sometimes when Qin thought about it, he felt quite guilty. People always chased after distant goals and enjoyed the scenery along the way, but they forgot about their relatives around them. What made Qin feel gratified was that apart from chatting with him occasionally when she was bored, Xin did not pester him at all. This little girl had been quite sensible since she was young. She never had the bad temper of a rich, and beautiful lady. This was also the reason why after something happened to her family, Xin could withstand the pressure and did not break down because she could not adapt to it. Perhaps it was because she grew up with Qin and had been influenced by him. Qin remembered that his grandfather had said that this girl was destined to be rich and powerful. She would be carefree all her life and would not encounter any setbacks. In the past, Qin still felt that his grandfather was reliable. However, after Uncle Lin's accident, he felt that his grandfather was sometimes unreliable. College life was the last carefree time for everyone. After leaving this campus, everyone had to bear more or less responsibilities on their shoulders. Some time ago, I read A Chicken Soup for the Soul. Some people said that kindergarten was a big garden, primary school was a class of primary school, junior high school was a group of junior high school, senior high school was a high school for several people, university was a university for 2 people, and work was a job for 1 person. It turned out that people were lonely in this way. Sometimes Qin also felt that he was very lonely. Maybe everyone was like this. However, at least he had a few friends who he could talk to, such as Hao Lei, Meng Zhe, Xiading, Yu Kefi, and Lao Chao. After returning to Shanghai, he returned to college for the 2nd time. He didn't have time to recall his youth, and he didn't have time to visit the teachers and counselors who were good to him at that time. However, he would definitely do it if there was a chance. Qin sat on the steps next to the basketball court and waited for Qin. Perhaps because there was a beautiful woman present, the boys on the basketball court seemed to be injected with chicken blood, burning the hormones in their bodies with abandon, wanting to win the attention of the beautiful woman. After all, in college, not every student was a second-generation rich and could change girlfriends at will. Many people might not have a girlfriend for a whole 4 years. After Qin Sheng appeared, these boys were very disappointed in an instant. They all thought that Qin Sheng was Xin Xin's boyfriend. They felt that another flower was inserted in cow dung. Also, how could such a flower be owned by these losers? Don't you feel cold sitting here? You don't want to go out to have dinner with me. Why? Are you saving money for your brother? After Qin Sheng came over, he touched Xin Xin's beautiful hair and said, Xin Xin, who was wearing a down jacket, boots, and a gray scarf, turned to look at Qin Sheng. Her hair should have just been washed, and there was still the fragrance of shampoo. She showed a bright smile and said, I have already had lunch. I am too full, so I came out for a walk. Also, can you not touch my hair in the future? It makes me feel that I will always be a little girl. In front of me, you are a little girl who can't grow up, Qin Sheng said happily. Oomph. Xin Xin pouted and turned her head to ignore Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng laughed and said, I transferred money to your card last time to let you buy new clothes and cosmetics. Did you buy them? I bought 2 clothes, but I didn't buy any cosmetics. Don't you think that your sister is already very beautiful without makeup? If I put on makeup, wouldn't I be so beautiful? Xin Xin said with a harmless face. That cute look really made people feel like bathing in the spring breeze. Qin Sheng stared at her and said, I haven't seen you for a long time, and your face has become so thick. Xin Xin held Qin Sheng's arm and said in a spoiled manner with dissatisfaction, How can I say that to my sister? Qin Sheng really did not know what to do with her, who was the most important person to him in this world at present except for Xin Xin, followed by Uncle Lin and Annie Wang. Qin Sheng sighed and said, Don't be reluctant to spend the money I gave you. Your brother is now a manager, and my monthly salary is tens of thousands, which is enough to support you and me. Oh, I know. Why are you so long-winded? Xin Xin said perfunctorily. Even though Qin Sheng said so, Xin Xin would not really spend money like that. Even when her family was rich, she was very thrifty. Moreover, she knew that Qin Sheng would definitely not tell her bad news. Even if he was too poor to eat, he would not let her suffer a little bit. Qin Sheng shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. How could he not know what this girl was thinking in her heart? I have already bought the plane ticket. The flight will take place the day after tomorrow night. I will come to pick you up. You can pack your things. Qin Sheng arranged. Also, this time we will go there with your brother Lei and a beautiful sister for 2 days. Brother, have you found a new girlfriend? Xin Xin said with a smirk. Obviously, she was very curious about this beautiful sister. Qin Sheng knocked on Xin Xin's forehead and said, What are you thinking about? She's just a friend of mine. Don't talk nonsense, or I will punish you later. I know. Xin Xin curled her lips and said. But then she asked, Brother, how are you and Sister Su Qin now? A few days ago, Sister Su Qin came to see me again. She took me shopping and bought me some clothes and cosmetics. I didn't dare to tell you. You won't be angry, will you? Qin Sheng frowned slightly. He did not know why Su Qin often came to see Xin Xin. According to Xin Xin last time, Su Qin often came to see her in the 2 years she studied in Shanghai, and every time she invited her to eat and buy clothes, etc. Anyway, Qin Sheng was very grateful from the bottom of his heart. At least Su Qin still treated Xin Xin as a sister that did not keep a distance because of him. This was also Su Qin's kindness. Why should I be angry? Me and her are me and her. You and her are you and her. Qin Sheng explained casually. Xin Xin asked again. Sister Su Qin said that she had seen you, but it was obvious that she was not happy. Brother, I think Sister Su Qin is very good. Even if you can't be lovers, you can still be friends. After all, you haven't done anything wrong to each other. What can't be solved? Well, you silly girl, what are you doing? Qin Sheng patted his buttocks and stood up. Obviously, he did not want to continue this topic. They used to love each other deeply. After breaking up, could they still be friends? Didn't people say that no matter what happened in the past, not disturbing each other was the best way? Xin Xin also stood up and did not dare to continue this topic. She was afraid to make Qin Sheng unhappy. She handed the bag in her hand to Qin Sheng and said, I bought you a scarf last time when I went shopping. Remember to take it when you go out. Don't get cold. This sister is not in vain. Qin Sheng said with satisfaction. Although it was not valuable, this kind intention was more important than anything else. After getting up, Qin Sheng took Xin and said, "Let's go. I have nothing to do today. I will accompany you to go shopping, treat you to a big meal, and buy some gifts for our mother. Last time I came empty-handed. This time, I'm afraid our mother will not let me in." Xin could not wait for Qin Sheng to go shopping with her. Naturally, she agreed. So the two ran to Nanjing Road. It was not until 9 o'clock that Qin Sheng sent Xin back. In the next 2 days, nothing happened in Shangshan or Washui. In the end, the matter was settled with compensation. The other party did not apologize. It was said that they only locked up for a few hours and then left. Chang Baji did not intend to return to Xi'an. He just stayed in Shanghai to take charge of Shangshan, Ruoshui. In this way, Qin Sheng could rest assured. On the last afternoon, Chang Baji sent Qin Sheng to the airport. First, he went to pick up Han Bing, who got off work early and packed her things. This sister carried a bag and only pulled a suitcase of Rimawa. But Qin Sheng estimated that the suitcase was already full. Chapter 127. The appearance of a mother. Qin Sheng and Xian grew up together. So far, their life trajectories were almost the same. The path that Qin Sheng took was the path that Xian was taking now. From primary school to junior high school to senior high school, and then to Fudan University, Xian followed Qin Sheng's footsteps step by step, as if she would not get lost this way. In junior high school and senior high school, Xian could always hear legends about Qin Sheng. For example, he was a super scholar who was always in the top 3 of the whole grade, and a problematic teenager who gave teachers headaches. Whether it was playing basketball or fighting, chasing after beautiful girls, or being chased by others, he was always the focus of the crowd. He was the idol of many people. Therefore, in Xin's mind, this brother of hers seemed to be omnipotent, especially his affinity with women. He was born to be so good. He had received a lot of love letters in junior high and senior high school. Even after he got together with Su Qin, there were still many girls who chased after him like moths flying into a flame. She, as his sister, also benefited a lot from it. She would always be treated by different girls or given gifts. She did not expect that after stepping into the society, her brother's ability to pick up girls did not weaken at all. He had only been back in Shanghai for a short time, and he had already hooked up with such a beautiful girl. No wonder he was not interested in Sister Su Qin. Chang Baji drove, and Hao Lei sat in the front passenger seat. Qin Sheng, Han Bing, and Xian sat in the back. Han Bing was very excited about this trip to Xi'an. She asked a lot of questions along the way, such as what fun things to do, what delicious food to eat, how to arrange the itinerary, and so on. At the same time, she took the initiative to get to know Xian. Xian and Su Qin had a good relationship. After so many years, they were so familiar with each other. She kept a distance from any woman who appeared around Qin Sheng, but she was not that impolite, otherwise Qin Sheng would definitely scold her. Han Bing also saw that Xian was not interested. She did not know what was going on, so in the end, she said less. After Chang Baji sent them to the airport, he returned to Shangshan Ruoshui. These days, Qin Sheng was not around, so he had to take care of him. After all, there were still a lot of things on Jiang Xianbang's side. In the past, Han Bing would only take the first class when traveling. But this time, there was Qin Sheng and the others, so she did not have that luxury. She sat with them in economy class. Qin Sheng originally wanted to sit in the middle, but Xian took the initiative to choose that position, saying that she wanted to chat with Han Bing. Unfortunately, after sitting down, she fell asleep immediately. There was no time to chat. Not long after, Han Bing also fell asleep. Qin Sheng chatted with Hao Lei for a while, then took out the thick black theory and continued to study it. 2.5 hours later, the plane finally landed at Xi'an Xianyang International Airport. Qin Sheng had called Annie Wang early. Annie Wang said that she would pick them up in person. No matter how Qin Sheng persuaded her, Annie Wang insisted. Xian of Xian was Xian. Of Xian saw his mother from far. How? Xin had not seen her before. Sheng. Of Xin of Xin of Sheng. Xin waved his mother and walked out quickly. He gave his mother a big hug. Sometimes family was so strange. No matter when, it can make people feel warm. Qin Sheng, Han Bing, and Hao Lei followed. Qin Sheng could not help hugging Annie Wang. "Auntie, I'm back." "Silly boy." Annie Wang patted Qin Sheng's shoulder. Hearing this, she felt that it was worth it. Last time, when Qin Sheng came back after 2.5 years, he only stayed for 2 hours and left. Annie Wang had watched Qin Sheng grow up and regarded him as her own son. She did not have time to ask him many questions or say many words to him. Qin Sheng just left like that, which made her somewhat disappointed. She was afraid that Qin Sheng would disappear completely like before. Later, she called Xin and confirmed that he really stayed in Shanghai. After greeting Qin Sheng and Xin, Hao Lei hurriedly greeted Annie Wang. When they were in high school, they often went to the Lin family for meals. Later, he graduated and joined the army. When he came back, he learned about the changes in the Lin family and Qin Sheng's disappearance. He also visited Annie Wang. Finally, Han Bing, the sexy and charming little devil, pulled the suitcase and smiled. "Hello, Auntie. I've heard Qin Sheng tell me about you. I didn't expect you to be so young." Qin Sheng said casually, "Auntie, this is my friend, Han Bing I told you about." "Hello." Annie Wang smiled and nodded. "This girl is so beautiful and sweet. Tell me honestly, is she your girlfriend?" Han Bing was a little embarrassed. She did not expect Annie to be so direct, but she enjoyed Annie's words and looked at Qin Sheng calmly. "Mom, don't make this up. Sister Bing Bing and my brother are friends." Xin quickly took her mother's arm and complained. Beauty Han was really good, but Xin still thought Sister Su Qin was more suitable for Qin Sheng. After all, they had been together for so long. Qin Sheng also changed the topic. "Annie, let's go back first. After the Lin family's accident, their company was annexed and their assets were auctioned. Plus, they had to pay off their debts and hire a lawyer to be an official. What was left for Wang Li and her mother was a suite, a car, and a little more than 100,000 in cash. The Lin family's assets were hundreds of millions in the past. It was really sad that they had declined to this extent. But the Lin family was satisfied. At least they had food, clothing, and shelter. At least old Lin's sentence was light. As long as he was still alive, money was just a worldly possession. They could earn it back sooner or later. It was an old Audi A4L. Qin Sheng took the initiative to be the driver. Hao Lei sat in the passenger seat and called his parents to tell them that he was safe. He left in a hurry last time and did not have a good discussion with his parents. This time, he had to apologize to them. As for the 3 women, they sat in the back and chatted. This time, Han Bing came to Xi'an with the mentality of meeting her future mother-in-law. So she tried to make Wang Li happy. She was a smart woman and knew how to build a good relationship with her mother-in-law. Xin had been holding her phone and chatting on WeChat, planning to meet up with her best friends. Qin Sheng drove Hao Lei home from Chang and South Road. His home was near Mingdamen, which was not far from Xujiang. Then he was ready to send Han Bing to the hotel. Qin Sheng booked the Westin Hotel in Great Goose Tower, which was the nearest to the Lin family. But when she heard that Han Bing wanted to stay in a hotel, Wang Li did not agree. She frowned and said, "You're a girl. Why stay in a hotel? Just stay at home. There are guest rooms at home. It's not like you can't stay there." Xin did not want Han Bing and Qin Sheng to spend too much time together. She quickly said, "Mom, you should ask Sister Bing Bing first. How can staying at home be more comfortable than staying in a hotel? It'll be too restrictive. Besides, the Westin Hotel is so close to our home." "What are you talking about? Staying at home is definitely more comfortable than staying in a hotel. What's there to be restrictive about?" Wang Li looked back at Han Bing and asked, "Bing Bing, what do you think?" Han Bing did not dare to make a decision on her own. After all, Qin Sheng was still around. She looked up and said thoughtfully, "Auntie, actually, she was more willing to stay at the Lin family. It was too boring and lonely to stay in a hotel alone. Besides, it was not safe enough." Qin Sheng thought about it and finally made a decision. Then let's listen to Annie's arrangement and stay at home. We'll just check out of the hotel later. That's right. I can still cook for you every day. You can sleep as late as you want. Wang Li chuckled. She treated Qin Sheng as her son. Naturally, she had to worry about Qin Sheng a lot. She liked Han Bing very much. She was a good match for Qin Sheng. She knew that Qin Sheng and Su Qin had broken up a long time ago. Now that Qin Sheng had reached the age of marriage, if she could have a daughter-in-law like Han Bing, she could not wait to have a grandson. This was also her and old Lin's long-cherished wish. After all, after old Master Qin passed away, they had to take care of these things for Qin Sheng. After hearing the last sentence, Han Bing could not help but blush. Obviously, she had thought too much. Sujiang New District was considered a wealthy area in Xi'an. Whether it was the living environment or the business environment, it was the best place in Xi'an. The Lin family had bought a few properties here a long time ago. They used to live in the villa of Sujiang Mansion, which cost tens of millions. Later, after Mr. Lin had an accident, Wang Li and her daughter sold a few properties and villas before moving to the Jindi, Furong Shijiao next door. It was already 10:30 p.m. when they reached home. Wang Li originally wanted to cook some food for the children, knowing that they had not eaten dinner. However, she was stopped by Qin Sheng and others, who said that they could just order some takeout. The Lin family's house was a large flat with 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and 3 bathrooms. At first, Wang Li wanted to sell this house. After all, this house was worth millions now. However, she was stopped by Mr. Lin. After all, they had lived in Sujiang for so many years and were already familiar with this place. Moreover, the size of this house was just right. In the future, when Qin Sheng and Xin Xin got married and had children, they would have a place to live at home. In the end, Wang Li had no choice but to agree. Since they moved here, Wang Li had tidied up Qin Sheng's room. Everything was arranged according to the previous style. Qin Sheng's things were also in the room. She stayed in one room, Xin Xin had another room, and the last one was the guest room. Wang Li also did not want guests to stay in the children's room. Xin Xin went back to her room to take a bath. Wang Li tidied up the guest room for Han Bing. Han Bing and Qin Sheng sat in the living room and chatted. She could see that Annie Wang treated Qin Sheng as her own son. Xin Xin was also more attached to Qin Sheng. However, what she was more curious about was why she did not see Uncle Lin and did not hear them talking about him. Therefore, Han Bing could not help but say, "Qin Sheng, there is something that I am very curious about." "What is it?" Qin Sheng poured a glass of water for Han Bing and washed some fruits. Han Bing said truthfully, "Why did I not see Uncle Lin?" Only then did Qin Sheng understand. He sighed and then explained, "In the 2 years after graduating from university, I have been running around outside. Only when I came back did I know that something happened to Uncle Lin. He was framed and sent to prison. His company was also annexed. In the past, Uncle Lin was also a small, successful entrepreneur in Xi'an. I never thought that he would fall to such a state. This is also the pain in my heart. When the Lin family needs me the most, I am not by their side." "I am sorry. I did not mean to," Han Bing said with slight embarrassment. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, "There is nothing to be sorry about. I can only blame myself for not having this ability at the moment. Therefore, I have to work hard and make a name for myself as soon as possible. When the time comes, I can also avenge Uncle Lin. Good and evil will always be repaid. It will definitely be, just like those people who forced my father to die. God will definitely not spare them," Han Bing said with empathy. At this time, Annie Wang walked out. She had already tidied up the guest room and changed the bed sheets. She pulled Han Bing over to see how it was. 10 minutes later, the takeout arrived. After eating the takeout, they were a little sleepy, so they went back to their respective rooms to rest. Back in the room, everything was the same as before. Touching those familiar things, Qin Sheng was quite emotional. Like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate, he directly threw himself onto the bed. This was the first time Qin Sheng lay on this bed again after nearly 3 years. Looking at those close companions in the room, Qin Sheng fell asleep unconsciously. This was the most comfortable sleep he had in the past 3 years. Chapter 128. Can't Go Back. want to collect, want monthly tickets. After nearly 3 years of wandering, it was the first time for Qin Sheng to lie on his own bed. Although the Lin family had moved, the layout of the room was still the same as before. Qin Sheng was somewhat moved. He knew that Annie Wang and Xin did this on purpose. They wanted him to live comfortably without any discomfort. Annie Wang got up early. Every morning, she would exercise around Xujiang South Lake. In the past, as long as it was a weekend or a holiday, Qin Sheng would accompany Annie Wang in the morning and Uncle Lin in the evening. He liked to follow Uncle Lin the most and listen to his stories, especially the principles and details of how to conduct oneself. However, Qin Sheng slept so well last night that he had a long dream of his mother. His mother's appearance was very vague, but it was very similar to Annie Wang. He kept chasing after her, but he couldn't catch up with her. It seemed that there was a man and a girl looking at him not far away, but he still couldn't see their appearance clearly. Maybe they were Uncle Lin and Xin. When Qin Sheng got up, everyone else had already gotten up. Xin was watching TV in the living room, and Han Bing was accompanying Annie Wang to make breakfast. Qin Sheng was somewhat embarrassed. He didn't expect that he was the last to get up. "Brother, you're up." Xin saw Qin Sheng coming out and greeted him with a smile. Because the heater was on, the house was relatively hot, so Xin only wore pajamas and looked relatively casual. Qin Sheng deliberately scolded her. "Don't you know there are guests at home? You start eating without washing your face. No wonder you're getting fatter." Xin didn't take it seriously. She got up and deliberately turned twice to show her good figure. She said, "Really? I'm teasing you." Qin Sheng laughed. Annie Wang and Han Bing came out of the kitchen with a few bowls of porridge and said to Qin Sheng, "Hurry up and wash your face, then have breakfast." Han Bing winked at Qin Sheng, which seemed to mean that she was a good daughter-in-law and was moved by her. Qin Sheng rolled his eyes and then went to wash his face and brush his teeth. After breakfast, Annie Wang began to ask, "Sheng, what's your plan today? Where are you going to take Bing Bing to play?" Qin Sheng slightly frowned. "Annie, how about you and Xin take Han Bing to the Great Wild Goose Tower in Great Tang Furong Garden? I want to see Uncle Lin first. I was too anxious last time. It was my fault." Speaking of this, Qin Sheng did feel somewhat guilty. He should have visited Uncle Lin as soon as he returned to Xi'an. However, he had encountered Han Guoping's matter. No matter what, Qin Sheng should have visited Uncle Lin as soon as he returned this time. Annie Wang and Xin are a little depressed. Every time Mr. Lin is mentioned, their mood is affected. They used to be such a warm family, but now it has become like this. No one feels good. Han Bing was very sensible and said, "Well, you go ahead with your work. We'll walk around first and talk about it when you come back." "Mom, I don't want." "I am Bing you." "Bing, I'm Bing home." "Bing, not going. I Bing Mom." "Bing, she." "Mom, not." "I Mom, can I Bing Bing." Wang Li naturally understood her daughter and said casually, "Then forget it." After leaving Furong Shijia, Qin Sheng drove straight to Chang in district. The big wild goose pagoda, the Great Mercy Temple, and the Tang Dynasty Furong Garden were all in Xujiang New District, which was not far from Furong Shijia. Therefore, Wang Li and Han Bing walked there. Hao Lei had already helped Qin Sheng with the visitation procedures through his family connections. Half an hour later, Qin Sheng arrived at the prison where Uncle Lin was. Under the guidance of a leader of the prison, he visited Uncle Lin according to the standard procedure. After waiting in the room for a few minutes, the prison guard brought Uncle Lin in. Through the shielding glass, Qin Sheng could see that Uncle Lin had aged. He was really old. It could be seen that the incident had dealt a huge blow to him. His face was full of wrinkles. Although he had a crew cut, it could be seen that his hair was already gray. However, his mental state was not bad. Qin Sheng stood up excitedly and called out to Uncle Lin. However, he could not hear anything from the other side. She sat down slowly and pointed at the intercom, indicating for Qin Sheng to speak with it. He did not look excited at all. After all, when his wife came last time, she had told him about Qin Sheng's return. Qin Sheng picked up the intercom and said in a trembling voice, "Uncle Sheng, you're back. Well, it's good that you're back. I'm relieved. Lin, she said with a smile. Qin Sheng felt very guilty. He clenched his fists and said, Uncle, it's my fault. When you needed me most, I was not around. It's all my fault. I don't blame you. Even if you were there, you couldn't have helped much. Lin, she had already been relieved. After all, more than a year had passed. He smiled and said, I haven't seen you for more than 2 years. You've changed so much that I almost can't recognize you. Qin Sheng gritted his teeth and said, Uncle, don't worry. I will definitely find a way to clear your name and let you come out as soon as possible. Lin, she shook his head and said, Don't bother. Those people are not people you can deal with. I'm already indifferent to them. Just take it as a rest for a few years. You can help me take care of your Annie Wang and Xin. The more he heard such words, the more guilty Qin Sheng felt. However, he had secretly made up his mind that he would definitely seek justice for the Lin family. Seeing that Qin Sheng did not speak, Lin, she took the initiative to ask, How have you been the past 2 years? I heard from your Annie Wang that you are now back in Shanghai. How is it over there? Qin Sheng began to chat with Lin Shi and said, I originally wanted to stay in Xi'an, but Grandpa asked me to go to Shanghai. He said that it was my lucky place, so I went there. Now it's not bad in Shanghai. I'm working for an uncle. He has some connections with Grandpa and treats me very well. He intends to train me to be his successor. Hearing that Qin Sheng was doing well, Lin, she was very pleased and said, That's good. I'm not able to help you now. You can only rely on yourself in the outside world. Do you remember what I told you before? No matter what you do, you have to be down to earth. Don't be too impatient. Everything has to be done step by step. Don't think about reaching the sky in a single bound. Only when you have a solid foundation will you be well prepared in the future. Lin, she was very pleased to hear that Qin Sheng was doing well now. He said, That's good. Qin Sheng nodded silently and said, Uncle, don't worry. I remember these things. Lin, she then asked, How are you and Su Qin now? Are you still in touch after coming back? That child is very good. Xin said that you broke up when you graduated. I don't know what you think. When I was in trouble, Su Qin's father helped me. If you have time, help me thank him. If you really have a chance, don't let her down. Su Qin left a deep impression on the Lin family. The Lin family had long treated Su Qin as their daughter-in-law. After all, Qin Sheng and Su Qin had been dating for 6 years. Qin Sheng was a little embarrassed and said, She is also in Shanghai. I saw her after coming back. As for the future, I don't know. Lin, she said half-jokingly, I won't say anything about you two. You're also old enough to get married. Don't let your uncle and aunt wait for too long. While we are young, we can still help you take care of your child. Qin Sheng chuckled and said, I won't let you wait for too long. Qin Sheng chatted with Lin Shi for more than half an hour. When it was almost time, he got up and said goodbye to Lin Shi. Before leaving, Lin Shi said again that he asked Qin Sheng to help him take care of his wife and daughter. Qin Sheng did not need anyone to say this. He would do it. When he returned to Zhujiang New District, it was just lunchtime. Qin Sheng, Annie Wang, and the others made an appointment to eat at a local Shangxi restaurant in Zhujiang. They used to eat there often, and the taste was not bad. So Qin Sheng went straight to Zhujiang Hanyao. When Qin Sheng arrived, they were ordering dishes. The 4 of them ordered something, mainly for Han Bing to taste. They did not know whether Han Bing, who was used to eating Shanghai cuisine, could get used to the sour and spicy Shangxi cuisine. The 3 women ate slowly and chatted as they ate. Qin Sheng ate like a whirlwind. Although he did not look good, others liked to eat with Qin Sheng because he had a good appetite and they could eat more with him. The women's topic was always about clothes and cosmetics. In the past, Wang Li often went shopping with Xin. She was a woman with special taste and paid more attention to her image. What's more, she was doing beauty now. It was a shop of her friend. She took care of it there and found something to do. After all, she used to be at home to support her husband and children. Now the situation at home was not very good. She could not be idle. As a pure and beautiful beauty, Xin was naturally more interested in these things. When they knew that Han Bing was a designer, there were more topics to talk about. After all, she was an expert. Qin Sheng did not care about these. After making sure that Han Bing was used to eating Shangxi cuisine, he only cared about filling his stomach. In the end, he basically ate all the dishes. After eating, Xin was going to go shopping with her best friends. Her best friend basically studying in Xi'an. Shangxi people loved home. Moreover, there were more good schools in Xi'an. When Qin Shang was studying in university, the Lin family also wanted to stay in Xi'an. But after Qin Shang and Su Qin discussed, they finally decided to go to the big city, Shanghai. So it was rare for them to come back from holiday. So they must have a good time with their best friends. Wang Li also had something to do. So Han Bing was handed over to Qin Shang, which also gave the two some time to be alone. Qin Shang had already arranged the itinerary for Han Bing. They would go to the Shangxi History Museum first, followed by the Bala Museum and the City Wall. Finally, they would go to the Huimin Street and Yongxing Square to eat while shopping. It was equivalent to finishing dinner. At night, he would take him to the Xi'an Folk Bar. After all, this was also a major feature of Xi'an. When it came to history and antiques, Qin Shang could be considered as half an expert. Therefore, when he was in Shangxi, he asked the tour guide to explain, and Qin Shang supplemented. Han Bing was obviously very interested in these and asked all kinds of strange questions. The Bala Museum was Qin Shang's favorite place. Whether it was the Lin family, Su Qin, or some friends, they all knew that Qin Shang's handwriting was very good and he had some achievements in calligraphy. Old Master Qin forced Qin Shang to learn, especially during the winter and summer holidays. He directly asked his friends to let Qin Shang work part-time in the Bala Museum. Every day, Qin Shang spent time with the inscriptions of those calligraphers and then copied the sections and so on. It was impossible for him to have no achievements. He was very familiar with most of the famous steles inside, whether it was the inscriptions or the stories behind them. Sometimes he would also work part-time as a tour guide. So when they arrived at the Bala Museum, Qin Shang did not need a tour guide at all. He explained to Han Bing by himself. Yin Jinxing, Lu Gongquan, Ouyang Sun, Wang Shiji, Zhang Su, Huai Su, from clerical script, cursive script to regular script and semi-cursive script. Qin Shang explained them to Han Bing. After all, she had never seen Qin Shang's handwriting before. When she knew that Qin Shang had stayed here before and his calligraphy was pretty good, she insisted that Qin Shang write a piece of calligraphy for her when they went back. The last one was the most famous Xi'an city wall. After they went up, Han Bing did not expect that the city wall would be so wide. She insisted on riding a bicycle with Qin Shang. Qin Shang was very helpless and could only accompany her. At the same time, he also worked part-time as Han Bing's private photographer and helped her take many photos. Unfortunately, Qin Shang's skills were not good, so he was criticized by Han Bing a lot. It was already evening. After they came out of the city wall, Qin Shang was about to take Han Bing to Huimin Street. At this time, Hao Lei called. He first asked them where they had been today. At last, he said that Meng Zhe and the others heard that Qin Shang had come back and wanted to hold a welcome dinner for Qin Shang. Chapter 129. Heartache, be it in junior high school, senior high school, or university, everyone would always have a few best friends around them. Perhaps this was the saying, birds of a feather flock together. However, as time went by, many people would part ways with each other. Take Qin Shang, for example. Up until now, the people he had the closest relationship with were actually the few roommates he had gotten to know in the university, followed by Hao Lei and Meng Zhe. Perhaps it was because they had started to part ways after university, had different social experiences after graduation, and also made a lot of new friends at the same time. So they had gradually forgotten about those old friends who used to talk about everything. Time and society changed who we used to be and eventually made us live the kind of life we didn't want to live. However, Qin Shang finally agreed to Hao Lei's invitation. After all, there were still Hao Lei and Meng Zhe. After all, they were here to welcome him. Or maybe he was a petty person. Everyone was busy last time, so they finally had time to meet this time. The place to eat was at Datangshi City on Labor South Road. It was a high-end Cantonese restaurant opened by Wu Hao's friend. Other than Hao Lei, Meng Zhe, Wu Hao, Zhao Xian, and Qin Shang and Han Bing, there were 6 of them. Is it appropriate for me to go? Han Bing asked casually on the way to Datangshi City. After all, it was a gathering of Qin Sheng's friends. She was the only outsider and woman present. She was not used to it. Qin Sheng, who was driving along Huanqing South Road, said casually, "There's nothing inappropriate about it. It's just a simple meal. Don't think too much. If you don't feel well, you can leave first." Since Qin Sheng had already said so, Han Bing did not insist anymore, lest Qin Sheng would say that she was petty. Moreover, a beauty like her would be the center of attention no matter where she went. At that time, it would give Qin Sheng more face. The so-called Huanqing Road in Xi'an was the road that surrounded the city wall. In winter, the nights were long and the sky darkened earlier. When the lanterns were first lit, the lights on the city wall were also turned on. The big red lanterns and yellow light belts made the city wall look mysterious and vicissitudes. Han Bing, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, kept staring at the city wall outside the window. No one knew what she was thinking. She had wanted to come to Xi'an for a long time, but she could not find a chance. She did not expect that her first time in Xi'an would be under such circumstances. The city wall is so beautiful at night, so different from the day. I really regret coming so late, Han Bing muttered to herself. Qin Sheng said casually, "If you like Xi'an, can you come here often in the future?" "Yes, Xi'an is really a city full of history and culture. I like this city. I can feel the precipitation of this city. Although its development is not like coastal cities, it has its own unique flavor, which is incomparable to others." As a designer, Han Bing could naturally find inspiration and material from the history and culture of Xi'an. After Han Bing finished, she continued, "However, I'm afraid that if I come often, Annie Wong will find me annoying." Qin Sheng smiled and said, "Of course not. You should treat this place as your home. Every time you come, just stay at home. Don't stay in a hotel." "You may think so, but Annie Wong may not, unless—" Han Bing turned her head and stared at Qin Sheng, her eyes revealing a hint of slyness. Qin Sheng did not think too much about it and asked, "Unless what?" "Unless I become Annie Wong's daughter-in-law. Then Annie Wong definitely won't find me annoying and can't wait for me to live in Xi'an every day." Han Bing covered her mouth and laughed. Her smile was gorgeous, as if she had taken advantage of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng rolled his eyes at Han Bing and was too lazy to respond. He knew that this vixen had nothing good to say. However, Qin Sheng still enjoyed being teased by a beauty. Half an hour later, they arrived at the Tangxi City on Labor South Road. This was also a scenic spot in Xi'an. It was the starting point of the Silk Road and the most prosperous business district in Xi and during the Tang Dynasty. Now, the Tangxi City had been rebuilt on the original site. After finding a place to park the car, Han Bing was not willing to go for a meal. She insisted on walking around here alone. She felt that this place was quite interesting, so she stood Qin Sheng up without hesitation. Qin Sheng looked at the back view of the great beauty, Han Zhe, helplessly. He sighed and said, "Only women and villains are hard to deal with." In the end, Qin Sheng could only find Hao Lei and the rest to have a meal alone. This restaurant specialized in Cantonese cuisine and took the high-end route. At this moment, there were already 4 men sitting in the private room. They were playing and laughing while waiting for Qin Sheng. Although Wu Hao and Zhao Xian had not contacted Qin Sheng for a long time, they were still quite familiar with Hao Lei and Meng Zhe. They were chatting happily. Among the few people who were seated, their family backgrounds were not simple in Xi'an, especially Wu Hao and Zhao Xian, who were considered to be second-generation rich. Meng Zhe was the second-generation son of a low-ranking official. Hao Lei's family had a military background, so he joined the army back then. However, he was unwilling to leave the army. To him, joining the army was only to fulfill his father's wish. After all, 3 generations of his family would be soldiers. His sister was also in the army now. However, this was not his dream. "Brother Lei, I heard that you also followed Qin Sheng to Shanghai. What are you doing now?" Wu Hao was a famous playboy. Back then, he also chased after Su Qin. However, Qin Sheng took the first place. After all, they were very close at that time, so he could only look on helplessly and sigh. However, he had always been resentful, especially when he knew that Qin Sheng and Su Qin had broken up. Wu Hao was very happy and continued to chase after Su Qin. Unfortunately, Su Qin did not like him at all. Hao Lei raised his head and looked at Wu Hao. He said casually, "I'm a driver for a friend. F*CK. Brother Lei, are you F*King crazy? Are you so bored that you ran to Shanghai to be a driver? If you stay in Xin, we can do whatever we want for you. It will be more comfortable than you in Shanghai," Zhao Xian scolded. This bastard loved to use vulgarities and liked to backstab people. Now, relying on his family's construction business, he already had a net worth of tens of millions. He drove a flashy blue Maserati and flirted with girls every day. Therefore, among the few of them, he and Wu Hao could be considered to be like-minded. Moreover, they even had business cooperation. Wu Hao also echoed, "Our soldier king didn't stay in the army and ran to Shanghai to be a driver. I really don't know what he's thinking. I say, Brother Lei, how much do I pay you every month? I'll give you double your salary. Why don't you come to my place? I'm also short drivers. My driver is preparing to start. He's clumsy and his skills are far from yours." In the past, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian had always been following behind Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. Now that they had entered the society, coupled with the resources of their families, they were doing things with ease. They no longer cared about Hao Lei, Meng Zhe, and the others. They also spoke rudely. More importantly, they were showing their superiority all the time. These words made Hao Lei very uncomfortable. However, Hao Lei controlled his temper and said, "I don't have that kind of luck. Let's talk about it when I really can't make it in the future. Why isn't Qin Sheng here yet? He's making so many of us wait. He's really putting on airs." Wu Hao raised his wrist to look at the time. He deliberately revealed his gratuity watch and said in a strange tone. Zhao Xian smiled and said, "What do you think? He's the top student who got the beauty Sue. Of course, he's putting on airs. Do you think everyone is as vulgar as you? By the way, Hao Lei, have you seen Su Qin in Shanghai?" Wu Hao took the initiative to ask. Hao Lei said honestly, "Yes." After Qin Sheng came back, did he see Su Qin? Wu Hao continued to ask. Hao Lei said casually, "Yes." What the F*CK? Did they rekindle their old love? Zhao Xian was surprised when he heard this. He then said to Wu Hao, "Lao Wu, I think you don't have a chance. That's not necessarily true. It's a fair competition now. I can't guarantee that I'll get the beauty," Wu Hao said disapprovingly. Meng Zhe had long been used to the way Wu Hao and Zhao Xian talked. He only cared about chatting with his wife on his phone. His wife was very clingy. They were already engaged, but they still talked like they were in love. Zhao Xian asked tentatively, "Brother Lei, you and Qin Sheng are both in Shanghai. What is Qin Sheng doing now? Isn't he great? Back then, he was the top student among us. All the teachers said that he had a bright future." In fact, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian knew some things from Meng Zhe. For example, Qin Sheng's adoptive father, Lin Shi, had been imprisoned. If it was in the past, Qin Sheng might have a better life than them, but now it was not certain. For example, Qin Sheng seemed to have started from zero in Shanghai. Otherwise, Hao Lei would not have been only a driver. You can ask them later. Hao Lei was too lazy to care about them. Meng Zhe looked up at Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. He snorted and said, "You guys are so bored." At this time, the waiter pushed the door and walked in with Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng smiled and said, "Sorry, I'm late." Meng Zhe, Hao Lei, and the others quickly stood up. Wu Hao glanced at Zhao Xian and said in an even more exaggerated tone, "Oh, who is this? Isn't this our top student? I haven't seen you for more than 2 years. I almost can't recognize you." Zhao Xian laughed and said, "Who do you think you are? The top student is too lazy to contact you. The two of us are relying on Brother Lei and Lao Meng today." Wu Hao sighed and said, "You're right." When Qin Sheng heard what the two of them said, the look in his eyes changed slightly. Just as he had expected, some people were no longer the same as before. The sarcasm in their words was really piercing. Hao Lei was also very uncomfortable. In fact, he knew very well why Wu Hao and Hao Lei wanted to see Qin Sheng. Last time when Qin Sheng called them, they did not show up at the same time. Actually, they wanted to know how Qin Sheng was doing now and whether he was not doing as well as they were. If that was the case, they would probably mock Qin Sheng to death. If Qin Sheng was indeed doing better than them, they would not care about him anymore. The two of them would definitely hold Qin Sheng's hand and reminisce about the old days. Chapter 130. Qin Sheng was the leader of this small circle in high school. At that time, Qin Sheng was good at studying, fighting, and picking up girls. Naturally, he was the backbone of these people. At that time, they were also convinced by Qin Sheng. Later, all of them went to college. Qin Sheng and Su Qin went to Shanghai, while the others stayed in Xi'an. Hao Lei joined the army. Their contact with each other began to decrease. It was said that college was a small society. Everyone began to step into society gradually. Their thinking and so on were all changing. They were no longer naive and ignorant like before. Later, Qin Sheng disappeared for more than 2 years. Everyone stepped into society and gradually changed themselves completely. Moreover, for most people, society and school were different. In society, people compared who had a strong family background, who was from a rich family, who was the last one, and who was the most capable. As a result, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian walked in front of everyone else. At that time, they were convinced by Qin Sheng, but at this time, they might not be convinced anymore. After all, they were all spoiled children, so they definitely wanted to make themselves look good. Moreover, at that time, who among them did not have improper thoughts about Su Qin, especially Wu Hao, who could not forget her. Now, of course, they wanted to show off in front of Qin Sheng. It seemed that they were telling everyone that Qin Sheng used to be awesome, but now he was doing so badly. Those people in the past, including Su Qin, were really blind. They were the real potential stocks. Were they regretting it? The most important thing was that Qin Sheng did not benefit them, so they did not care about the so-called feelings. For them, in this society, could feelings be eaten? Qin Sheng was not angry, but he was a little anxious. He was most worried about this kind of situation. After all, he still regarded Wu Hao and Zhao Xian as friends. After all, they used to be so sincere. However, things did not go as he wished. Things developed in the worst direction. It's just that I disappeared for 2 years. Look at your grievances, Qin Sheng said with a smile. He randomly found a seat where no one was sitting. Hao Lei really wanted to curse in his heart. In Qin Sheng's eyes, they were nothing. Mengzhi was neither sad nor happy. After all, he was going to live in Xi'an and would more or less need Wu Hao and Zhao Xian's help. No matter how unhappy he was today, he had to remain neutral. However, Wu Hao pulled Qin Sheng up and said, "Boss, you're the boss of our group. How can you sit here? You must sit in the main seat." "That's right. The main seat is reserved for you. If you sit here, we won't dare to eat," Zhao Xian chimed in. Qin Sheng stood up slowly and sat on the main seat with a smile. Anyway, for him, after today's meal, if there were no accidents, if it was not a coincidence, it would be impossible for him to sit at the same table with them again. For him, they were no longer people on the same path. "Since you want to put on an opera, I'll see what kind of opera you can put on. Come on, let's order," Wu Hao said to the waiter. The waiter brought over the menu. Wu Hao directly pushed the main menu to Qin Sheng. He smiled and said, "Big boss, come on, you order first. You can order whatever you want." Qin Sheng gave the submenu to Zhao Xian and did not pay any attention to Mengzhi and Hao Lei at all. Qin Sheng did not stand on ceremony either. He casually ordered a few dishes and passed them to Mengzhi, who was beside him. "Then let's order something red. Wu, don't you have a few bottles of Mouton red wine here? One bottle costs 4 or 5,000. It's rare to see a busy boss today. I have to make you pay," Zhao Xian said. "Then let's order something red. Old Wu, don't you have a few bottles of Mouton's red wine here? A bottle costs 4 to 5,000. It's rare to see a busy man like boss today, so I'll have to rip you off," Zhao Xian chimed in. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian started chatting with Qin Sheng. Wu Hao first explained what happened last time. He smiled and said, "Boss, the last time you came back, it was too sudden. We both happened to have a business meeting. We couldn't help it." Wu Hao and Zhao Xian began to chat with Qin Sheng. Wu Hao first explained what had happened last time. He smiled and said, "Big brother, the last time you came back, it was really too sudden. We happened to have a social engagement, so we had no choice. After all, we're quite busy now, unlike when we were in school before. Originally, we wanted to hold a welcoming dinner for you the next day. Who knew that when we asked Lao Meng, you had already gone to Shanghai? See, you just came back this time, so we hurried to hold a welcoming dinner for you, just in case you felt uncomfortable. Boss Wu is right. His business is big now. His projects are all worth tens of millions. He's so busy. Most people have to make appointments. I'm the same. I'm under a lot of pressure. Sometimes I envy you. You live so easy, Zhao Xian said. Hao Lei sneered. Envy us? We're all losers. How can we compare with you rich kids? We can't help it. Born in such a family, we have to walk this path. Otherwise, we'll be useless. Wu Hao laughed. His words were a slap in the face. Qin Sheng said perfunctorily, with great power comes great responsibility. I understand you. Boss, what did you do after you graduated from university? Why didn't I hear anything from you in the past 2 years? Zhao Xian asked tentatively. Although he knew something from Mengzhe, he was still not sure. Qin Sheng said half-truthfully, nothing much. I just wanted to calm down and go out for a walk. I wanted to see the great rivers and mountains that I've been to and see the different customs of different places. Yo, you see, boss is indeed boss. You're in a different realm. No wonder our high school teachers said that boss will be the most successful in the future. Wu Hao laughed. They did not care what Qin Sheng had done in the past 2 years. Zhao Xian asked again, Boss, why did you go to Shanghai when you came back? Did you want to reunite with Su Qin? If that's the case, Wu won't have a chance. When Zhao Xian mentioned Su Qin, Qin Sheng was a little unhappy. He could say anything but joke about Su Qin. Beauty, Su has a special liking for boss. How dare I have any improper thoughts? Sometimes I'm also very curious. At that time, there were many people who liked Beauty Su, including me. Why did Beauty Su like boss? Does boss have the aura of a tortoise? Wu Hao shook his head deliberately. Zhao Xian laughed and said, You're calling boss a tortoise. Wu Hao echoed and laughed out loud. Mengzhe was afraid that Qin Sheng would turn against him, so he quickly said, Boss is charming. What do you know? Why can't I see it? Wu Hao stared at Qin Sheng deliberately and said. Qin Sheng looked a little unhappy. At this time, the waiter started to serve the dishes and wine. Wu Hao asked them to open the wine and pour it for everyone without waking them up. Holding up the wine cup, Wu Hao laughed and said, Boss, I'm just joking. Don't mind it. Come. Let's drink to welcome boss. I hope boss can go to a higher level in the future. After drinking a cup of wine, everyone started to talk more. Qin Sheng did not talk much. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian also did not keep staring at Qin Sheng. After all, there were still Mengzhe and Hao Lei. After a while, Wu Hao began to ask questions again. He laughed and said, Boss, we are all quite puzzled. We always feel that you are quite mysterious. We don't know what you're doing in Shanghai. Did you really go to Shanghai to chase Su Qin again? Boss is still the boss in the past. Su Qin is not the Su Qin in the past anymore. I heard that Su Qin is now an executive in a multinational company. She is surrounded by rich people who are worth hundreds of millions. How about you still like boss? Zhao Xian said disapprovingly. One was playing the good cop, the other was playing the bad cop. Wu Hao snorted deliberately and said, Lao Zhao, why do you always mention Su Qin? I don't have any hope. Are you still thinking about her? We'd better care about boss. How dare I? Well, let's talk about boss. Zhao Xian laughed. Qin Sheng sighed and said, Alas, I was not born in a family like yours. I can only rely on my own ability to make a living. I am working as a salesman in a small company. Salesman? F***CK boss, is it true? You're the famous top student in our high school. Why do you waste your talent? Zhao Xian looked very surprised. No one knew whether he was acting or not. Wu Hao also replied, Boss must be joking. How could a great scholar do a lousy salesman? Don't you think so? Hao Lei did not say anything at all. He and Qin Sheng were on the same side. Since Qin Sheng said so, he already knew what Qin Sheng was thinking. Mengzhe was also not sure whether Qin Sheng was speaking the truth or not. He frowned and said, Boss, is it true? It is a job. Why would I lie to you? It is not easy to find a job nowadays. Qin Sheng sighed and said. Wu Hao immediately said, Boss, this is not possible. It is too unfair for you. How about this? You come back. I will give you 10,000 a month. You come to our company and help me. We can earn money together. Lao Wu is right. You can come to our company. I will give you 15,000. Zhao Xian also joined in the fun. Wu Hao laughed out loud and said, Lao Zhao, do you think you are buying vegetables in the market? Hao Lei could not stand it anymore. He directly slammed the table and stood up. He stared at Zhao Xian and Wu Hao angrily and said, Is this interesting? Brother Lei, what are you doing? Wu Hao said very unhappily. Zhao Xian also said with a smile, Brother Lei, we are just joking. Why did you take it seriously? It is really boring. Mengzhe was somewhat at a loss. At this time, no matter which side he sided with, he might offend someone. However, the person involved, Qin Sheng, stood up and waved his hand at Hao Lei. Sit down. What is this? We are just joking, as long as everyone is happy. Hearing Qin Sheng's words, Hao Lei could only suppress his anger and sat down helplessly. However, he was very unhappy for Qin Sheng. If it was an outsider, with Hao Lei's bad temper, he would have smashed the bottle on his face. Did he really think he was someone important? Okay. Let's change the topic in case Brother Lei is unhappy. Zhao Xian sighed. The more Qin Sheng showed weakness, the more Wu Hao and Zhao Xian felt that Qin Sheng did not dare to offend them. After all, he was doing so badly now, while they were doing so with ease. Moreover, they had a strong background in Qian. Therefore, Wu Hao continued to challenge Qin Sheng's bottom line and said, Boss, actually I am very curious. Why did you break up with Su Qin? Did you have a change of heart? Or did Su Qin have a change of heart? Or did Su Qin have a high standard and look down on you? Qin Sheng did not get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, Maybe it is not fate. I can't get close to her. She was my goddess in high school. Every time I think of her, I feel quite regretful. Last year, I was lucky enough to meet Su Qin. Now, she's even more different. Her looks, her temperament, her figure, especially her breasts and long legs. In today's words, I can play with her for a year. Towards the end, Wu Hao's tone had started to become obscene. In the end, he even laughed out loud. Wu Hao's eyes lit up. Zhao Xian played along and said, No matter who conquered such a woman, he would be able to brag about it for the rest of his life. So I envy you, boss. Boss, tell us how Beauty Sue is in bed. Anyway, you have broken up, right? Exactly. Tell us. I guess everyone is very curious. Wu Hao laughed out loud and looked expectant. At the same time, he shouted at Hao Lei and Mengzhe. Are you also curious? At this time, Qin Sheng's face was already very ugly. At first, they joked with Su Qin, but he was not angry. After all, they stopped and did not go too far. Later, they joked with Su Qin, but he did not care at all. After all, he still remembered their relationship and did not fall out with them. But now, they still joked with Su Qin, which challenged Qin Sheng's bottom line. If Qin Sheng still did not get angry, he would be King useless. Chapter 131. Uncomfortable, my health is not good recently. Plus, there are too many friends who got married these days. I'm sorry for delaying the update. I'm finally free at the end of the month. I can update properly. Some people valued relationships, some valued interests, and some would weigh the pros and cons. Which one did Qin Sheng belong to? How should he put it? Qin Sheng was more or less the former. At this moment, everyone could understand that today's so-called welcome banquet was a banquet at Hongmen to mock and ridicule Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng used to be a wimpy kid at school, but now he began to show off his strength. This was a deep-rooted bad habit that many people had. Wasn't it for vanity and face? Zhao Xian and Wu Hao echoed each other and kept challenging Qin Sheng's bottom line. In the beginning, Qin Sheng was not angry at all. At least, he could understand the dark side of Wu Hao and Zhao Xian's hearts. At the same time, he also took into account their relationship in the past. After all, in high school, they were a group of carefree kids. Therefore, he did not leave right from the beginning. It's true that you guys are doing well. I'm not envious or jealous of you. I can understand if you guys want to show off in front of me. However, no matter who you are, I can't allow you guys to challenge my bottom line. If Qin Sheng still did not lose his temper at this moment, he would be too king useless. In a word, you don't want face, do you? It meant that both sides had completely fallen out. They used to be close friends, but now it was like this. It made people sigh with emotion. Why do you have to do this? Hearing this, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian's faces changed instantly. They did not expect that Qin Sheng would really dare to fall out with them. Mengzhi was a little nervous. He wanted to ease the atmosphere, but did not know how to say it. Only Hao Lei knew that they had really provoked Qin Sheng. Boss, you must be joking, Zhao Xian said with a smile. He still had some scruples. Wu Hao said with a gloomy face, Qin Sheng, do you dare to say this again? What? Didn't you hear me clearly? Then let me repeat it to you. You don't want face, do you? Qin Sheng stood up slowly, bowed slightly, stared at Wu Hao, and said again. Wu Hao snorted. Qin Sheng, do you really think that you are still the Qin Sheng in the past? I call you boss because I respect you. If I don't respect you, who do you think you are? Do you really think that you are someone important? Boss, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Do you know what the consequences of your words are? Apologize, and we'll let bygones be bygones, Zhao Xian said politely, but he still did not take Qin Sheng seriously. Wu Hao, Zhao Xian, the two of you are quite promising. However, your characters are still the same as before. You don't even dare to fart when facing people who are more powerful than you. You definitely trample on those who are not as powerful as you. However, when it comes to matters, the two of you definitely hide at the back. When fighting and causing trouble, it's always me, Hao Lei, and Mengzhi who rush to the front. To put it simply, you bully the weak and fear the strong. Wu Hao's and Zhao Xian's faces turned ghastly pale. Everyone understood them. How could Qin Sheng not understand? Qin Sheng, it's different now. We're all adults now. Don't you think it's too childish to talk about the past? Wu Hao said with a playful look on his face. Qin Sheng laughed and said, Childish? You know yourselves better than anyone else. Today, you're echoing each other to humiliate me. You're using Su Qin as an excuse to disgust me. Qin Sheng, don't think too highly of yourself. We admit that you were awesome when you were in high school, but now you're just so. You're just a lousy salesman. What's there to be proud of? Zhao Xian said unhappily. Mengzhi said in a hurry, Can't the two of you talk less? Is it necessary to make such a big fuss? Lao Meng, who wants to make trouble? Why don't you listen to what Qin Sheng said? Zhao Xian sneered. Hao Lei said sarcastically, Wu Hao, Zhao Xian, you two brothers are doing well now. We've never envied or been jealous of you. Originally, the better your lives are, the happier we are for you. But today, I'm really disgusted by what you've done. In the past, you couldn't even lift your heads in front of Qin Sheng. Now that you're doing so well, you can humiliate anyone you want. I know you like Su Qin, but to be honest, Su Qin looked down on you in the past, and it's still the same now. I don't think there's any need for you to have dinner. From today onwards, once we walk out of this door, we'll never see each other again. Hao Lei, it's none of your business. Wu Hao did not take Hao Lei seriously at all. Hao Lei stood up and walked towards Wu Hao slowly. He said lightly, Is that so? Wu Hao was a little scared. After all, he knew that Qin Sheng and Hao Lei were very skillful. If they really fought, the two of them would only be at a disadvantage. As expected, after Hao Lei said this, he directly kicked Wu Hao to the ground and shouted, I've been tolerating you for a whole night. Believe it or not, I'll kill you. Hao Lei, what are you doing? Zhao Xian hurriedly pulled Hao Lei. Hao Lei pushed Zhao Xian away and said, Get lost. And you, don't you think it's very interesting? Zhao Xian did not even dare to let out a fart. Mengzhi was already at a loss and did not know what to do at all. He could only look at Qin Sheng for help. Only Qin Sheng could stop Hao Lei. Qin Sheng said casually, Hao Lei, don't be touchy. After all, we used to be friends, didn't we? As for the future, nobody knows. Wu Hao stared at Hao Lei viciously. At this moment, he was a little embarrassed. In the past, he could not raise his head in front of Qin Sheng and the others. Today, he wanted to fight for his honor. However, he did not expect that in the end, it would still be like this. Qin Sheng shook his head and sighed. You guys make me very disappointed. Life is really getting further and further away. In this case, let's let everything live in our memories. In the future, let's pretend that we have never known each other, so that there won't be any resentment in our hearts. As for what happened today, I'll pretend that it never happened. What you think is your business. If you're not convinced and want to deal with me and Hao Lei, then just come at me. You guys only have a few tricks up your sleeves. However, our revenge will not be so simple. Sometimes, money and power may not be able to solve the problem together. In the end, I don't really want it to come to that. After saying this, the friendship of many years had come to an end. There was no need for Qin Sheng and Hao Lei to stay any longer. Qin Sheng said helplessly, "Let's go." The two of them left the private room side by side. Mengzhi was in a dilemma and did not know what to do. In the end, he felt that there was no need for him to stay. He had no choice but to leave with Qin Sheng and Hao Lei, leaving Wu Hao and Zhao Xian, who were extremely embarrassed, as well as the table full of delicacies and good wine that had just been served and basically had not been touched yet. After Qin Sheng and the others left, Wu Hao was so angry that he directly smashed his wine glass. He was not convinced. In the past, he was not as good as Qin Sheng, so Su Qin looked down on him. Now that he was so powerful, why did Su Qin still look down on him? That was why he did what he did today. However, in the end, he shot himself in the foot. Just let it go, Zhao Xian said with a gloomy look. Wu Hao gnashed his teeth and said, "Let it go? Why? Since they want to fall out with us, then don't blame us. I don't believe that Qin Sheng, who is so miserable now, can make any big waves. We are not who we were in the past." Zhao Xian sighed and felt a little emotional. He more or less regretted what he had done. After Qin Sheng, Hao Lei, and Mengzhi walked out of the restaurant, Mengzhi tried to smooth things over and said, "Qin Sheng, Hao Lei, don't be angry with them. After all, they come from rich families. These 2 years have been too smooth, and they're several levels higher than their peers. It is understandable that they are proud and arrogant. Lao Meng, you don't have to put in a good word for them. We can understand you. After all, you'll be living in Xi'an in the future, and you'll have to see them frequently. Unlike us, we are not in Xi'an anyway. So what if we fall out with them? So don't get involved in this matter. Just stay neutral," Hao Lei said honestly. Qin Sheng smiled and said, "Lao Meng, they are targeting me tonight, not you and Hao Lei. I can understand them. There are too many people like them in this society. Do you think they will find trouble with us after being bullied tonight? After all, I did hit them," Hao Lei said with some scruples. No matter what, it was not a bad thing to be careful. These two guys had money and background in Xin. If they really wanted to find trouble with them, it was also within their expectations. Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, "Wu Hao and Zhao Xian, based on their characters, they are definitely not willing to suffer losses. But they are afraid of trouble. If you put a knife on their necks and say some harsh words, they will definitely settle the matter in the end. Why don't you call Lao Chong and borrow some people from him? After all, his boss in Xi'an is a real tiger man. Later, bring some people to keep an eye on these two. If they really want to take revenge, then let them suffer some losses and learn their lesson. If they are heartless, then don't blame us for being unjust." "Okay, I will call Lao Chong later." Hao Lei thought it was more reliable to do this. Mengzhi said with lingering fear, "They won't do this, will they?" "Not necessarily." Qin Sheng shook his head and said, since they were not full, Qin Sheng had to find another place to continue eating. He called Han Bing first. After a while, Han Bing found them and asked confusedly, "You finished eating already?" "Alas, it is a Hongmen banquet. It is better not to eat," Qin Sheng said with a sigh. Mengzhi saw a beautiful woman coming out. He opened his eyes wide and asked, "Who is this beautiful woman?" "She's a friend of Hao Lei and I. She came to Shanghai with us to play for a few days. Her name is Han Bing." Qin Sheng smiled and introduced, "Our best friend, Meng Zhe. You can call him Lao Meng." Both of them nodded to each other as a greeting. They discussed for a while and finally chose to run to the foot of the city wall. They brought Han Bing to eat a private Shaanxi cuisine. The taste was really good. Chapter 132. I go over on the way to the gate of the academy. Qin Sheng, Hao Lei, and Meng Zhe were not in the mood to talk. No one knew what they were thinking about. Han Bing asked a few questions at the beginning, but seeing that they were not interested, she stopped talking. She just played with her phone and thought about what had happened. Otherwise, how could the three of them be so depressed? It was impossible for them to finish dinner so quickly. No wonder Qin Sheng said that it was better not to have a feast at Hongmen. Qin Sheng felt that the atmosphere was too depressing. He turned on the radio. It was the familiar FM 93, one Xi'an music station. After listening to a song, the host said in a magnetic voice, "The next song is Su Wei's Once You, everyone's favorite. It's for all the friends who are on the road." At this moment, Qin Sheng had mixed feelings when he heard this song. Who had never dreamed of traveling the world with a sword? Who had never had a beloved girl? In the end, love would hurt you all over. You would experience the vicissitudes of life and have fewer and fewer friends. In the end, you would become lonely. When you were sad, you could only go to the sea. Why do people change? Meng Zhe murmured to himself and sighed. I really miss the days in high school. If only I could go back to the past. Even if I can't, I don't need to become like this. Things remain the same, but people change. Maybe people who are not on the same road will be separated sooner or later, Qin Sheng said casually. Meng Zhe nodded and said, maybe. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei did not do anything wrong today. The ones who were wrong were Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. Maybe they were not wrong either. The one who was wrong was this complicated society. This society had completely changed them and made them lose their innocence. This private restaurant was called Drunk in Chang'an. It was located in a yard inside the academy. The yard was antique, and there was a beauty playing the Chinese zither, which was very suitable for the mood. They finished their dinner here. During this period, Qin Sheng and the others finally relaxed. Meng Zhe's attention was on Han Bing. After all, women like Han Bing were not rare. Since she could follow Qin Sheng to Xi'an, it was obvious that their relationship was not simple. He really did not know what Qin Sheng was doing in Shanghai and why Hao Lei would follow him so resolutely. After dinner, the few of them dispersed. Today, Qin Sheng brought Han Bing to walk around for half a day. Not to mention that Qin Sheng was not in the mood at this time. Han Bing also looked a little tired. When they returned to Jindi Furong Shurjia, Annie Wong had already returned. She was watching TV and waiting for them. Xin hadn't returned home yet. According to Annie Wong, she went to karaoke with her friends after shopping and eating. After taking a shower, Qin Sheng lay on the bed wearing only a short-sleeved shirt and a pair of shorts. He was flipping through the diary that he had written before. There were also photos of him and Su Qin in the diary. At that time, Su Qin was already fresh and refined and could not cover her dazzling brilliance at all. However, Qin Sheng did not seem to have any highlights. No wonder so many people said at that time that he was like a flower inserted in cow dung. Surprisingly, the Su family was very satisfied with Qin Sheng. Especially Su Qin's father valued Qin Sheng very much. Su Qin's mother firmly opposed puppy love at the beginning, but later she turned a blind eye to it. It was true that the more a mother-in-law looked at her son-in-law, the more she liked him. Qin Sheng was recalling the past of high school and college, wondering if he was a little too heartless to Su Qin. After all, what happened at that time, Su Qin was not wrong. It was just that everything came together. At this time, Han Bing, who was chatting with Wang Li, suddenly pushed the door open and entered, startling Qin Sheng, who was on the bed. Qin Sheng took a deep breath and said, I say, do you have any manners? Can't you knock the door first before coming in? You didn't close the door, so I came in. What's wrong with you? What are you looking at? Han Bing saw the notebook in Qin Sheng's hand and asked with a smirk. Qin Sheng said casually, nothing. I have a guilty conscience. I don't believe it. Let me see what it is. Han Bing walked over and stretched out her hand. Qin Sheng was too lazy to care and said, boring. You really don't want to give it to me? No. Then I'll snatch it. You try. Han Bing would not give up so easily. Who asked Qin Sheng's action to be a little strange? Hence, she did not hesitate and rushed up. Obviously, she would not give up until she achieved her goal. Hence, the two of them started to pull and pull. It was really a good show. In the end, Han Bing was not Qin Sheng's match as expected and was directly pressed onto the bed. At this time, the two of them were a little ambiguous. Qin Sheng rode on Han Bing's legs and pressed down on Han Bing's arms. Han Bing panted heavily. The peaks on her chest rose and fell along with her breathing. It was especially attractive. You really have no respect for your elders. Do you believe that I will do you on the spot? Qin Sheng deliberately revealed a lewd smile and said. Han Bing did not fall for this and said bluntly, "Come on, I'm already hungry and thirsty. I need a man to solve my physiological problems. If you have the ability, then do it." Han Bing's words directly killed Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng felt that it was useless to say any more harsh words. He directly let go of Han Bing and jumped off the bed, saying, "Madam, you win." Han Bing packed up her clothes and said with a face of disdain, "This is your house. Even if you have 10 guts, you wouldn't dare to do it. Humph. Otherwise, I will rely on you for the rest of my life." Qin Sheng was speechless. Meeting such a seductress, you really can't do anything to her. It seemed that he really liked more reserved beauties. This girl, Han Bing, he cannot stand it. Just as Qin Sheng was about to put the notebook into the drawer, Han Bing took out a photo from somewhere. She admired it and said, "TSK, TSK, TSK. Who is this beauty? She is pure, cute, lovely, and even more infatuated than me. Who is this guy playing the guitar? This guy is quite handsome, isn't he?" Qin Sheng turned around with a face full of indignation. He knew that the photo was his. It was probably dropped during the fight, just now. With a face full of indignation, he said, "Give it to me." Qin Sheng's gaze was a little scary. Han Bing was so scared that she quickly handed it to him and said, "Isn't it just a photo? Why are you so angry?" Qin Sheng did not speak. He just clipped the photo and put it back into the drawer. Then he locked it. The things in this drawer were all the memories of the previous half of his life, including his grandfather, Su Qin, and so on. The boy is definitely you. Who is that girl? Is she your first love? She is quite pretty, at least prettier than me. Were you quite young when you were young? Han Bing began to gossip since she had nothing to do. Qin Sheng stared at her and said, "How old am I now? You are not old, but I feel that your heart is old, just like my dad. Are people like you all like this? I don't think it's good." Han Bing shook her head and said. Qin Sheng said casually, "Not everyone can live the same way. Everyone has their own choices, and everyone has their own sacrifices." "I'm most annoyed that you have the same tone as him," Han Bing said impatiently. "Although you are unwilling to answer my question, it is very likely that you were his first love or ex-girlfriend. Otherwise, you would not have kept it." Seeing that Qin Sheng was about to fall out with her again, Han Bing quickly changed the topic and said, all right, let's not talk about this. What's the plan for tomorrow?" "I'm going to visit Grandpa tomorrow morning. Let Hao Lei bring you to the terracotta soldiers. We'll meet up after that," Qin Sheng arranged. Han Bing hesitated for a moment and said, "Bring me along. Let me pay my respects to Old Master. After all, I may be the future daughter-in-law of the Qin family. Let Old Master help you." "Crazy." Qin Sheng was a little annoyed and directly pulled Han Bing out of the door. Han Bing muttered, "If you don't let me go, then don't let me go. Why are you always falling out with me? It's so boring." The next morning, Qin Sheng bought some paper money and Shifeng 375 and got up early to go to Zhongnan Mountains. Hao Lei also came over to bring Han Bing to the terracotta soldiers, but Han Bing insisted on going with Qin Sheng. In the end, Qin Sheng had no choice but to bring her along. Xin Xin and Hao Lei also went with them. Xin Xin was representing the Lin family to visit Old Master. Zhongnan Mountains, the most blessed land in the world. They drove to the end of the road. When there was really no other way, they walked to Old Master Qin's tomb. If Qin Sheng did not remember it clearly, no one would be able to find it. It was not a tomb. It was just a small mound of weeds. "We're here," Qin Sheng said lightly. Hao Lei and Xin Xin had been here before, so they were not surprised. Only Han Bing was surprised. "Is this it?" "Yes, this is it," Qin Sheng said casually, too lazy to explain too much. Qin Sheng squatted down slowly and began to clean up the weeds on the grave. Hao Lei also helped him, and it did not take long to clean up the grave. At this time, Qin Sheng began to pay his respects to his grandfather. He lit up some paper money and poured a bottle of Shifeng 375 on the grave of the old master. This was the old master's favorite wine, followed by Ergo II. After doing these things, Qin Sheng was the first to kneel down, followed by Xin Xin and Hao Lei. Han Bing hesitated for a moment and also knelt down. They kowtowed to old Master Qin 3 times and then stood up. Qin Sheng said to the others, "You guys go to the car and wait for me. I'll talk to Grandpa for a while. I'll be there soon." They were sensible enough to leave at the same time and went back to the car, leaving Qin Sheng alone. "Grandpa, I'm back to see you again. I've been away for another 3 months. How are you over there?" Qin Sheng and Grandpa began a chat. Chapter 133. Why do they have to do this? Sometimes people would not shed a tear until they saw the coffin, and would not turn back until they hit the wall. They would only learn their lesson after suffering a loss. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian were like this. Yesterday, they swallowed their anger because they knew that Qin Sheng and Hao Lei were too powerful. If they really fought, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. For businessmen like them who never made a loss, this was naturally not worth it. That was why they waited until the next day to make a move. Since they had already fallen out, how could they still care about their brotherly relationship in the past? That night, the two of them contacted their friends, who didn't know a few gangsters in the construction industry like them. However, they underestimated Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. After all, they had Chang Baji behind them. Chang Baji had been in Xi'an for so many years. His big boss was one of the few who had a reputation in Xi'an. Chang Baji had arranged everything for Qin Sheng with a simple phone call. Hao Lei did not dare to act rashly. He asked Han Bing and Xin to stay where they were. He quietly approached them and then contacted a friend that Chang Baji had mentioned to him last night. In front of the grave, Qin Sheng sat on the ground casually, just like when he was a child under the big locust tree in the yard. His grandfather sat on the recliner and listened to the opera while he sat on the ground and played. It was a little cold at the foot of Zhongnan Mountains in winter. Looking up, the Great Qin Mountains were majestic and endless. But compared to the air in the city, the mountains were more comfortable. No wonder Grandpa would choose such a place. "Grandpa, how high do you think a person has to stand to not be moved by the wind?" Han Guoping went from a farmer to such a state. In the end, he killed himself with a gun. Jiang Xianbang stood higher than Han Guoping, but he still had to avoid trouble in Hong Kong. "Shanghai is so big. I really don't know how much I have to pay and how many years I have to struggle to stand firm in that city, let alone stand out." Qin Sheng muttered to himself. The time he'd been back in Shanghai had been very confusing. He had experienced too much, so he could not find the time to settle down. The northwest wind was blowing, and the cold wind whistled past. The wind blades are like ice knives hitting his face, but it made him unusually calm. He liked to be calm the most. The calmer he was, the better, especially when he was doing things. Only then could he be considerate and not make any mistakes. However, I have met a lot of interesting people and things. Although there were some twists and turns in my life, compared to what I have experienced in the past 2 years, it is very peaceful. I don't know if I made the right choice by following Jiang Xianbang, but it is the best choice now. I just don't know if I can get through this, or I have to start all over again. Primitive accumulation is the most difficult stage, but everyone has to go through it. Today's society is no longer the time where one can fight their way. "Grandpa, do you think Jiang Xianbang can get through this?" Qin Sheng continued to chat with his grandfather and said, "Alas, let's leave it to fate. These things are not up to me to decide. Let nature take its course. No matter what the result is, I have to face it calmly and then move on to the next step. As long as I'm still alive, I have a chance to stand out. Anyway, I'm not sure. And Han Bing, I've been with her the longest during this period. I also know that she might like me, but my feelings for her can't reach hers. Finally, there's Lin Su. I met Lin Su when I went out. She made me feel like a bosom friend. We have a tacit understanding, and we've experienced a lot of things together. I fell in love with her at the beginning. Now that I see her again, I don't hesitate to start chasing her. I don't know if I can get her. If I can, she should be your granddaughter-in-law. Qin Sheng said, Grandpa, during this period of time, I met 1 or 2 strangers. I've never seen them before, but I have a feeling of déjà vu. It's quite strange. After Qin Sheng finished talking about the trifles of life, he talked about what he had encountered recently. After a while, he said, There's one more thing, Grandpa. I'm also a little confused. You've said before that the only thing I can't handle in my life is love. If I can, she should be your granddaughter-in-law. Grandpa, the last thing is about my life. I want to know, but don't want to know. I really don't know whether I should go to Beijing or not. Qin Sheng talked a lot, as if his grandfather was beside him. In the end, his mouth was dry, and he felt that he had finished talking. He slowly stood up and said, Grandpa, I have to stop talking. Rest early. I will go back first. I will come back to see you during the spring festival. Take care of yourself. After saying the last sentence, Qin Sheng patted the soil on his buttocks and turned to leave. In the open space at the foot of the mountain, 2 Haval SUVs were blocking the Audi A4L. Hao Lei had already contacted Chang Baji's friend, who was already on his way. It was estimated that it would take more than half an hour. Fortunately, he was in Gaoxin, so he came pretty fast. Hao Lei did not dare to act rashly. He had been waiting for Qin Sheng. If they went there together, it would be absolutely safe. If he went alone, he would inevitably be at a disadvantage. When Qin Sheng came over, he found Han Bing and Xin hiding behind a big tree. He patted Han Bing from behind, and she was so scared that she almost screamed. She quickly said, You scared me to death. Can't you make a sound? What's wrong? Why are you here? Qin Sheng was puzzled. Han Bing pointed not far away and said, Look over there. It seems that someone is blocking us. Hao Lei asked us to stay here because he is afraid of danger. Qin Sheng then looked down the mountain and could not help but frown. It was obvious that it was Wu Hao and Zhao Xian who found these people. They were just a bunch of clowns. Qin Sheng snorted and said, You two stay here. I will go over and have a look. Be careful. Han Bing and Xin both reminded him. Hao Lei had already noticed Qin Sheng coming over. When Qin Sheng came closer, he said, These 2 bastards really found people to deal with us. It has to be like this. I really don't want to be like this. I hope it is not them. Qin Sheng sighed. Hao Lei sneered and said, They have already done this. They can't blame us. I am afraid of trouble. We are fine in Shanghai, but our family is in Xin. Qin Sheng frowned and said. Hao Lei replied, Lao Chang's friend is already here. Today we will completely solve this matter and teach these 2 bastards a lesson. Let's go over first. They're just a few hooligans. Just treat it as practice, Qin Sheng said disdainfully. Therefore, Qin Sheng and Hao Lei swaggered over there. Before they got close, the group of people noticed them. One of the hooligans said to the leader, Brother Wei, they are here. Do you want to fight? No hurry. Wait for them to come over. Brother Wei, who was wearing a leather jacket and had long hair, said in a low voice. After Qin Sheng and Hao Lei came over, Brother Wei waved his hand, and 6 of his men directly surrounded Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. Qin Sheng smiled and said, Friend, which gang are you from? I don't think we know each other. We don't know each other. But you have offended the wrong people, so I am here to teach you a lesson. Brother Wei was polite and said casually. His dressing was a little artistic. Qin Sheng really did not know how to do this. Hao Lei snorted and said, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian sent you here. You don't have to worry about this. If you cooperate, we will not make things difficult for you. After all, you are all ordinary people. If you don't cooperate, then don't blame me for making you suffer. Brother Wei directly threatened. Qin Sheng smiled faintly and said, How do we cooperate? Break one of your legs, and this matter will be over, Brother Wei said bluntly. Hao Lei laughed out loud and said, Just by you. Just by us. Brother Wei did not take Qin Sheng and Hao Lei seriously at all. Weren't they just 2 young lads? He was trained in Sanda. His men had fought and caused trouble before. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake to deal with these 2 young lads? Qin Sheng said lightly, When you come out to make a living, you should at least bring something scary. Otherwise, you won't be able to control the situation, don't you think? I don't need to deal with you. Brother Wei said with a faint smile. Qin Sheng shook his head and sighed. Have you seen Han Han's movie, Riding the Wind and Waves? What do you mean? Brother Wei did not understand. Qin Sheng said slowly, They're all small fries. What are you talking about? After saying this, Qin Sheng made the first move. He leaned forward and directly kicked Brother Wei's chest. With Qin Sheng's skills, Brother Wei did not even have time to react before he was kicked away. Seeing that Qin Sheng had already made his move, Hao Lei did not hesitate to pull a man next to him and directly kneed the man in the face. The man instantly fell to the ground and could not get up. No one expected Qin Sheng and Hao Lei to actually dare to make a move. After Brother Wei's men came back to their senses, they quickly rushed towards Qin Sheng and Hao Lei. Unfortunately, it was too late. Moreover, with their skills, they were simply too weak. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei fought back and forth. This group of people could not get close at all. After Brother Wei got up and went in front of Qin Sheng directly grabbed his arm and threw him over his shoulder. In less than 10 minutes, everyone, including Brother Wei, was lying on the ground. They had suffered a great loss today. Who would have thought that such an ordinary thing would result in such a shocking result? Brother Wei was getting angrier. He pulled out a long dagger from his waist and came towards Qin Sheng again. His knife skills were messy and there was no pattern at all. His feet were weak and his feet were weak. After Qin Sheng dodged his first attack calmly, he found the right opportunity and reached out with lightning speed. He grabbed Brother Wei's wrist that was holding the knife. With a pull and a twist, he directly stabbed the dagger into Brother Wei's shoulder. Hao Lei, who was standing at the side, flew out and kicked Brother Wei's abdomen. Brother Wei once again flew out like a kite with a broken string. This time, he could no longer get up. Even if he could get up, he did not dare to, otherwise, he would be beaten up again. The fight was over. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei looked at each other and sighed helplessly. Next time when you go out, remember to bring more people with you. With just these few people, you want to take a leg from each of us? You really talk big. Big brother, we were wrong. It's our fault. We were blind and offended you. Brother Wei begged for mercy in time. He directly knelt on the ground. At this moment, he already understood that he had really kicked an iron plate today. These two were obviously not ordinary people. Just based on their skills, even if there were 10 more of them, they would not be a match for them. Hao Lei stood in front of Brother Wei and said, Now you know that you were wrong. Where did your arrogance go? If it wasn't for the fact that there are so many of you, it would be difficult to deal with you if you were killed. Otherwise, I guarantee that even if you came here today, you would not be able to go back alive. When Brother Wei heard this, he panicked and said, Big brother, spare us. We're just small fries. It's our fault. We will kowtow to you. After saying that, Brother Wei hurriedly kowtowed. When the other underlings saw this, they did not dare to hesitate and quickly kowtowed as well. A group of spineless men. If they really wanted to succeed, 6 or 7 men could kill them. Naturally, it would be difficult for him and Hao Lei to escape unscathed. He waved his hand and said, All right, tell me who asked you to come. If you tell me, I will spare you. As for whether you will take revenge later, I don't care. Brother Wei did not dare to take revenge. Today he had gotten lucky. When he met these two ancestors later, he would have to take a detour. Big brother, it was that Ned, Wu Hao, and Zhao Xian who asked us to come. They asked us to make trouble for you. At this time, Brother Wei hurriedly poured dirty water on Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. In his heart, he had already cursed 18 generations of their ancestors. They asked us to deal with such powerful characters for a few tens of thousands of yuan. Chapter 134. Who do you think I am? It's the end of the month. Please get a monthly ticket. Qin Sheng really hoped that it wasn't Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. He would rather it was his old enemy. But it was them, which made Qin Sheng feel very embarrassed. They could cut ties with each other and not see each other in the future. But they did this, so he had to be ruthless. From last night until now, Qin Sheng had been troubled by this matter. Their feelings used to be so sincere, but after a few years of immersion in society, their hearts became extremely dirty, which really made people sigh. Qin Sheng could be cruel to his enemies, but he couldn't be cruel to them. But he could only do this. He took out a cigarette and lit it. He looked at Hao Lei and said, "When will Lao Chang's friend arrive?" "I'll make a phone call and ask," Hao Lei said in a low voice. He had already sent his location over. He thought that they would arrive soon. After the phone call, he told Qin Sheng 10 minutes. Qin Sheng waved to Han Bing and Xin in the distance, indicating that they could come over. Han Bing, who had experienced several storms, had long been used to this kind of scene, so she was not nervous or afraid. But Xin, who had seen it for the first time, was a little scared. Han Bing comforted her. "It's okay. It's just a small matter." After Han Bing and Xin came over, Qin Sheng threw the key to Han Bing and said, "Drive the car to the roadside and wait for us there. We'll go over when it's done." "Okay." Han Bing nodded. Xin saw the 6 or 7 men with bruised noses and swollen faces on the ground, especially Brother Wei, who had a dagger in his shoulder. At this moment, his clothes had been soaked with blood. "Brother, are you okay?" Xin was worried. Qin Sheng touched Xin's hair and smiled. "It's okay. Wait for us in the car with your sister Bing Bing." 10 minutes later, Lao Chang's friend arrived in 3 cars. Compared to this side, Lao Chang's friend's extravagance was a little bigger. He had a Land Rover Range Rover and 2 Toyota Prado. Obviously, he was going to do something big. A small fry like Brother Wei could not be compared to him. After the 3 cars stopped, more than a dozen men jumped out of the cars, holding weapons in their hands. They were either machetes or sticks. Originally, they wanted to show off their skills, but when they saw the situation in front of them, they were instantly stunned. What was going on? The leader was a man in his 30s. He was dressed in a suit and had a cigar in his mouth. He walked over slowly. He was not surprised by the scene in front of him. He said softly, "Are you Mr. Chang's friends?" Qin Sheng and Hao Lei nodded, then introduced themselves and said their names. "I am Su Shan. President Chang asked me to cooperate with you." The man with a fashionable hairstyle and a grandfather's gray hair wax said with a smile. Qin Sheng did not intend to say anything to the man named Su Shan. He said casually, "Brother Su, these people, you deal with them." "Okay, leave it to me." Su Shan directly took it over. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and said to Su Shan with a smile, "Brother Su, I want to see the 2 friends I saw tonight, who are their behind-the-scenes instigators. Is it troublesome?" Su Shan held his chin with one hand and pondered for a while. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, wait for my news. Then we'll go first." Qin Sheng nodded to Su Shan and left with Hao Lei directly. However, he left a majestic image. Just now, the aura in a few words completely suppressed Su Shan. He only felt that Qin Sheng was not a small character. He should be a big shot. Otherwise, it was impossible to have such an aura at such a young age. After seeing Qin Sheng and Hao Lei coming over, Han Bing quickly got out of the car and asked, "Finished?" "Finished. I'll take you to the Terracotta Army and Horses Huaqing Pool." Qin Sheng smiled very casually. Hao Lei drove along the Guangzhou Ring Road to the west on the highway, and then went straight to the Lintong Terracotta Army and Horses. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who came to Xi'an but did not go to the Terracotta Army and Horses, was like go to Beijing but did not go to the Tiananmen, or going to Shanghai but did not go to the Bund. This was already the symbol of a city. During the 3-day New Year's holiday, the Terracotta Army and Horses had already been overcrowded. It was always the most visited place in Xi'an. After Qin Sheng bought the tickets, he found a beautiful tour guide and took them to visit the Terracotta Army and Horses. They walked for more than an hour. They were all cultural relics. If there was no professional explanation, it was obvious that they could not see anything. Han Bing was very interested in the Terracotta Army and Horses. The majestic aura told the glory of the great Qin Empire. After seeing the Terracotta Army and Horses, they went to the Huaqing Pool. The Huaqing Pool was much simpler. When Qin Sheng came before, he gave the Huaqing Pool a nickname called the Tang Royal Bathing Place. It was more or less worthy of a name. It was the ruins of some bathing halls. Behind the Huaqing Pool was Mount Li. However, it was winter and no one had the desire to climb the mountain. Dinner was settled in Lintong. There was a food stall in Lintong called Wang Ji Seafood. It made a very famous dish called sour and spicy cabbage. Almost everyone who came would order it. The taste was really amazing, and the business was very good. After dinner, they went back to Xin. Qin Sheng took Han Bing and the others to the folk bar in Shunxing Alley to drink and listen to songs. Xin did not drink, so she drove home at night. This girl had gotten her driver's license early, but her driving skills were really not good. This bar was called South Alley. It was a place that Qin Sheng often came to when he was in high school. At that time, he and Su Qin worked here. The Lin family was still at its peak, so Qin Sheng never lacked pocket money. However, Qin Sheng saved it. Su Qin's family was also like this. However, the feeling of earning money by oneself and the money given by others was different. The two high school students supported the business of this bar. They did not have a fixed time every month. They came more often during holidays. They were the boss's god of wealth. After every night, Qin Sheng would send Su Qin back first and then take the bus home. However, 6 or 7 years had passed. The boss might have changed several times, not to mention the waiters here, so no one knew Qin Sheng. This was just right. He did not have to talk about the past. He ordered a dozen drinks. He ordered juice for Xin. Naturally, Han Bing also drank. This woman's capacity for liquor was not bad. Qin Sheng was not interested in singing today, so he simply sat down and listened to songs. In Chun Sheng's, outside the peony pavilion, the singer was pretending to be serious, and the listener was the most ruthless. Every time he sang on the stage, Qin Sheng would also think so. In the past, at least there would always be an audience below the stage. Later, Qin Sheng only sang for himself. They had been chatting, preparing to go to Yuanjia village tomorrow morning. On the way back, they would go to Famen Temple. In the evening, they would fly back to Shanghai and end this short 3-day trip. In the evening, Zhao Xian and Wu Hao had a social event. They were ready to take on a new project. They talked and laughed during the dinner with ease. They were not immature at all. They were more slick than the experienced people who had been in Jianghu for more than 10 years. They regarded this as success. After dinner, the driver sent them back. The two separated at the door of the hotel and took their respective cars home. Wu Hao also lived in Xiujiang, and Zhao Xian lived in Gaoxing. What they did not know was that at this time, they had been stared at. When they just left the hotel, there were 4 cars following them. As for the matter of Qin Sheng and Hao Lei, Wu Hao and Zhao Xian did not take it to heart. They were naturally assured that Brother Wei would take care of it. In the afternoon, Brother Wei had called them and said that the matter had been completed, which made them feel very happy and relieved. Su Shen's men had been looking for opportunities. The traffic flow in Gaoxing was relatively large. At night, Xujiang was somewhat quiet, so Wu Hao found the opportunity first. At a traffic light intersection, there were only 2 cars of Wu Hao and Su Shen. Wu Hao's Mercedes-Benz S600L was at the forefront, and the tyrannical car behind directly rear-ended, but it was not too serious. Wu Hao's driver came down while swearing. The two sides began to quarrel. Wu Hao had not come down from a car. Seeing that the quarrel was a little fierce, he got off impatiently. When he just walked to the center of the incident, several men came down from the car behind him in an instant. They did not hesitate to pull Wu Hao into the car, including his driver. The 2 cars went away, and they also drove away Wu Hao's Mercedes-Benz S600L as if nothing had happened. As for Zhao Xian, he had not found a chance and finally had to give up. After Su Shen succeeded, he immediately called Qin Sheng and told Qin Sheng, "I only caught Wu Hao. Zhao Xian did not find a chance, so I can only wait." "One is enough." "Thank you, Brother Su," Qin Sheng said. Su Shen laughed and said, "It's okay. It's nothing. Where are you?" "I'll come right away," Qin Sheng asked. After confirming the address, he hung up the phone. In the South Lane bar, Qin Sheng answered the phone and came back. "Well, it's late. It's time to go, or anyone will be worried. Let's go." Han Bing and Xin Xin also nodded and followed Qin Sheng and Hao Lei out. After coming out, Qin Sheng threw the key to Xin Xin and said, "Xin Xin, you take your sister Bing Bing back first. Your brother Lei and I are going to do something. We will go back in a while. It's so late. What are you going to do? Be honest. Xin said maliciously. She was a silly girl. How could she be so smart? Unlike Han Bing, she immediately guessed that it must be something that happened during the day. Qin Sheng laughed and scolded. You little boy, why do you ask so much? After Xin left with Han Bing, Qin Sheng and Hao Lei took a taxi and went straight to a single courtyard in Chang district. Su Shen's men did not do anything to Wu Hao. They just blindfolded him and tied him to the chair. This feeling of helplessness made Wu Hao very scared. He begged for mercy. Brother, what are you? What do you want to do? Is there anything that can't be talked about? We don't want to do anything. You sit here obediently. It's just that someone wants to see you. Su Shen said casually. After that, he ignored Wu Hao and went out to drink with his men outside. When people were most afraid, it was when they fell into darkness. Wu Hao was like this at the moment. No matter how loudly he shouted, no one paid attention to him, as if he was thrown into a dark world. Not knowing how long it took, Wu Hao was tired and calmed down. Since the other party brought him here and did not kill him, it was obvious that his life was not safe. Secondly, the other party said that someone wanted to see him. Then he would eventually see the person behind him. Just when Wu Hao was about to fall asleep, he heard the door of the room being pushed open. A man walked in slowly. The man's footsteps were very light, and his breathing was very rhythmic. Who are you? Wu Hao said. The man did not answer. He just turned on the light. Then he walked in front of him and unfastened the black cloth covering his eyes. At the same time, he said, Who do you think I am? Chapter 135. Boss Wu Hao did not expect his retribution to come back so fast. He had long abandoned the so-called classmate and brotherly relationship because Qin Sheng was a person of no use to him. Moreover, this person had stolen his limelight and his beloved woman. As time passed, he was already an outstanding and successful businessman. What was Qin Sheng? He was just an ordinary salesperson in Shanghai who probably did not even have enough food and clothing to eat and wear. He used to be the school's pride, but now he was at the bottom of the society. Their identities were reversed, so Wu Hao naturally wanted to humiliate him. Unexpectedly, last night he went for wool and came home shorn. In the end, he was humiliated, so he became angry and asked someone to break one of Qin Sheng's and Hao Lei's legs. In the afternoon, Brother Wei told him that it was done. He was very happy and drank a few more glasses in the evening. He cursed in his heart. You are so cocky. Do you still think that I am an ignorant high school student? I am now a local tycoon with tens of millions of yuan. You can't compare with me. But what was going on in front of him? Why was Qin Sheng standing in front of him unscathed? He didn't look like he had one of his legs broken. He instantly understood. Wu Hao was still in a daze. Apparently, he had not come back to his senses yet. Qin Sheng teased. Are you surprised? Surprised? This boss, why are you here? It was Wu Hao's character not to fight when the odds were against him. After understanding what was going on, Wu Hao knew what to do. He pretended that nothing had happened and pretended to be stupid. Qin Sheng asked, I have to ask you, why am I here? Why are you here? Boss, is there a misunderstanding between us? Wu Hao still had the same attitude. Qin Sheng sighed and said, Wu Hao, people say 3 years old. I knew it when I was in high school. You are smart, but most of your cleverness is small. You are narrow-minded and have no sense of responsibility. You are afraid when you encounter something. At this time, you are still fooling around with me. Do you really think I am a 3-year-old child? Boss, I don't know what you're talking about. Wu Hao's eyes flickered and the corner of his mouth twitched subconsciously. He hated Qin Sheng to the core because Qin Sheng had pointed out all his shortcomings. Who would be willing to be exposed? Qin Sheng sneered as he said, Didn't you want me and Hao Lei to have one leg each? Now we have delivered ourselves to your doorstep. Let's check the goods. Boss, you must be joking. I treat you guys as friends. How could I do that? Wu Hao argued. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He turned around and took 2 steps forward. Really? After saying this, Qin Sheng suddenly turned around and kicked Wu Hao to the ground without any warning. This kick landed directly on Wu Hao's chest. Wu Hao, who was tied to the chair, could not escape at all. He fell to the ground in a sorry state, moaning in pain. Qin Sheng said disdainfully, "Do you really think that I have no temper? I said that I am a salesman in Shanghai. You King believed it. Did a dog eat your brain? Do you still remember what I said? Sometimes power and money can't settle some things. Moreover, you have not reached the stage where you can control everything. How dare you show off in front of me? Boss, I was wrong. King have brain problems. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. I won't dare to do it again." Wu Hao begged for mercy. He was afraid that Qin Sheng would beat him again. The more Wu Hao behaved like this, the angrier Qin Sheng became, because this made him look down on Wu Hao from the bottom of his heart. He said slowly, "Wu Hao, you look like a funny clown now. Do you know what I despise most about a man? You can be greedy and lustful. You can be shameless and dirty. But you can't King lack of responsibility and integrity. If you don't even have this, no matter how good you are still King useless. If there's a next time, you'd better find some powerful tiger man. Don't find a small fry. Look at me. I find someone to clean you up. I find boss he, so that there is no worry. Don't you think so? If you want to completely suppress people like Wu Hao, you not only need to let him suffer a little physical pain, but also need to bring out a backer to deter him." Behind Lao Chong and Su Shun was Boss He. How could Wu Hao, who mingled in Xian, not know Boss He? As expected, when Wu Hao heard that Qin Sheng was looking for Boss He was scared out of his wits. Boss He started his career as a gangster. Now he was the real big boss in Xin. If he really offended this big boss, he really did not know how he would be played to death. "Boss, I was wrong. I dare not do it again. For the sake that we used to be friends, please spare me this time." Wu Hao cried bitterly. Qin Sheng helped Wu Hao up, patted Wu Hao's shoulder, and said, "You also know that we used to be friends. Now I really feel blind. I have a friend like you. Fortunately, we broke up early. Otherwise, I really don't know how you will cheat me in the future. However, I will definitely let you go. I don't want to kill you. But if I let you go like this, I will lose my face. At least you have to suffer a little. Don't worry, I won't do it myself. I am afraid to dirty my hands. Bossy's men will have a good talk with you. If you have any requirements, you could talk to them." Qin Sheng said with a smile. This kind of small thing, he would hand it over to Su Shan. "I'll say it again. I'll give you one chance, but I won't give you a second chance. If you still want to take revenge, think about the consequences. Next time, I'll take your life. You can deal with me before that." Qin Sheng said ruthlessly. After saying this, Qin Sheng was about to leave. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "Well, I almost forgot to mention one thing. You can make fun of me in any way you want. If I hear anyone say that you made fun of Su Qin, don't worry, I won't spare you." No one knew when Qin Sheng suddenly had a dagger in his hand. It seemed that he had just taken it from the table outside. He had been holding it in his hand. When he finished this sentence, the cold light of the dagger suddenly appeared. Wu Hao's pupils instantly dilated. Before he shouted, Qin Sheng's dagger had been inserted into Wu Hao's thigh. The blood instantly dyed his pants red. Wu Hao cried heartbreakingly. Qin Sheng didn't care about anything. He turned and left directly. After coming out, he said a few words to Su Shan and then left with Hao Lei. Wu Hao and Zhao Xian. It was enough to deal with one person, not to mention that Wu Hao was the mastermind. Back to Jindi Furong Shijia. None of the three women were there. They were watching a variety show in the living room. Han Bing was really smart. In 2 days, she had already won the hearts of the mother and daughter of the Lin family. Xin, who was tit for tat at the beginning, now began to call each other sisters. Qin Sheng really felt injustice for Su Qin. She was really an ungrateful person. In fact, Qin Sheng knew in his heart that Han Bing and Xin were worried about him, so they waited for him to come back before going to sleep. Wang Li saw Qin Sheng push the door and entered. She smiled and got up. "Shenger, you are back. I also cooked some porridge in the kitchen. Have some." "Auntie, why haven't you slept yet?" Qin Sheng laughed. Han Bing pointed to the TV and blinked. "We are watching this reality show. We're going to sleep after watching it." Qin Sheng took a bowl of porridge from the kitchen and accompanied the women to watch the reality show. After watching it, they went back to their rooms to sleep. The next day, they all got up very early. Hao arrived at the gate of the community early. Then Qin Sheng took Han Bing and the others straight to the famous Yuanjia village in the neighboring city. It was a village of ethnic customs, and there were many snacks. Xian citizens would go there on weekends and holidays to eat and drink. They played in Yuanjia village for half a day. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng took them to Feimin Temple to burn incense. The most famous thing in Feimin Temple was naturally the Buddha's fingerbone relic, so it had a particularly high status in Buddhism. There was also an illusion. How did they find the Buddha's fingerbone relic? There used to be an old pagoda in Feimin Temple. The pagoda had been in a precarious situation for many years and finally collapsed. When they were cleaning it, they found the underground palace below. There were countless antiques and cultural relics in it. The most shocking one was naturally the Buddha's fingerbone relic. When they returned to the city, it was already afternoon and the sky was getting dark. The short trip was over. After returning home and packing their luggage, Wang Li sent them to the airport. She was somewhat reluctant to leave. After all, after Qin Sheng and Xin left, she was the only one left in this big house. It was somewhat lonely and desolate. When they left, Xin hugged her mother with red eyes. Qin Sheng also hugged Annie Wang and said goodbye, but he also promised Annie Wang that he would come back to spend the Spring Festival with her. 2.5 hours later, the plane landed at Pudong International Airport. Chang Baji had been waiting at the airport early. Qin Sheng asked him to send Han Bing and Xin back to Huaran 9 Mile Bund. Han Bing wanted to sleep with Xin tonight. The two women had a lot to talk about, so they abandoned Qin Sheng without hesitation. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei returned to Shilin Huayuan. On the way back, Qin Sheng naturally asked, "How is Shangshan Ruoshui these days? Did anything happen?" "Nothing happened. It's just that the business is a bit bleak. I guess a lot of people have heard about Jiang Xianbang's incident. Everyone naturally wants to draw a clear line between them. So these few days are quite idle," Chang Baji said casually. He was really bored these few days. He could only sit in the office drinking tea and chatting. Qin Sheng sighed and said, "As expected, I guess if Jiang Xianbang's incident is not over, the business of Shangshan Ruoshui will not improve. Is there anything else?" "Yes, one of the 6 members, Boss Yi, who has never shown his face, looked for you and said that he wants to see you," Chang Baji said casually. "Boss Yi," Qin Sheng muttered to himself. Chapter 136. It was all a routine. May, a new beginning, asking for a monthly ticket. The success of Shangshan Ruoshui was inseparable from the strong support of the 6 top members, especially their strong background and connections, so it could have a place in the bund. These 6 members were either Jiang Xianbang's friends or his partners. Boss Ye's information was the least among the 6 members, but these information were just for show. For example, Shui Qingyin's information only mentioned her job, and so on. If there was no insider information, no one would know that her brother was one of the big shots in municipal government. So Boss Yi, who had less information, was more mysterious and unpredictable. Why did Boss Yi want to see him? This made Qin Sheng very confused. But since he wanted to see him, then he would see what was going on. After all, after Jiang Xianbang avoided trouble in Hong Kong, anything could happen. Even though it was winter, Shanghai was still full of vitality in the morning. Those who wanted to gain a foothold in the city and were willing to put in several times the effort always got up earlier than others. After sending flowers to Lin Su as usual, Qin Sheng rushed to Shangshan Ruoshui early in the morning. The moment he arrived at Shangshan Ruoshui, Lin Su's WeChat message came. "Back." Qin Sheng just replied, "Yes," and planned to call when he was not busy. Not long after he arrived at Shangshan Ruoshui, Yu Fengji arrived. After changing her clothes, she walked into Qin Sheng's office. Every time he saw Yu Fengji in OL clothes, Qin Sheng felt a little restless. He really did not know how so many men in Shangshan Ruoshui, facing so many beautiful women every day, how could they not commit crimes? Maybe they had long been tired of beauty. "When did you come back?" Qin Sheng asked for leave to go back to Xian. Naturally, He had told Yu Fengji. He had not settled the matter with Wang Haichao. He had to rely on Yu Fengji in the reception department, plus Liu Yuan's cooperation to not make trouble. Qin Sheng made himself a cup of tea and said, "Came back last night. Why? So concerned about me, do you miss me?" Yu Fengji glanced at Qin Sheng with a slightly disdainful look and did not respond at all. She knew that Qin Sheng deliberately teased her, but there was nothing she could do. From that day on, their positions had changed. Seeing that Yu Fengji ignored him, Qin Sheng walked over slowly and put his hand on Yu Fengji's shoulder. He took a few deep breaths of her hair and said softly, "I haven't seen you for a few days, and you're so naughty. Are you regretting it?" "I don't regret it. What do you want to do? Just do it." Yu Fengji shook her head and sneered. The colder she was, the easier it was to arouse a man's desire to conquer her. Qin Sheng hugged Yu Fengji's waist from behind and whispered in her ear, "How was the reception department when I was not around? Did Wang Haichao come to work?" The most sensitive part of Yu Fengji's body was her ears. When Qin Sheng did that, Yu Fengji almost went limp in his arms. Her face was red and her eyes started to blur. She murmured, "Don't do that." "What do you want then?" Qin Sheng was somewhat unscrupulous. He directly bit Yu Fengji's earlobe, challenging her bottom line step by step. Yu Fengji could not stand it anymore. She directly leaned into Qin Sheng's arms, and her breathing was already messy. The more noble and elegant a woman was, the more lonely and empty her heart might be. She suppressed her feelings and physiology. If she could not stand a man's provocation, she might explode in an instant. Yu Fengji was this type. Yu Fengji was so seductive. Not to mention she could not stand it. Neither could Qin Sheng. Sooner or later, she would be his woman. So Qin Sheng was not in a hurry. At this moment, he put Yu Fengji on the chair next to him and left with a smile. He held a cup of tea and admired the woman's beauty at this moment. Yu Fengji gradually recovered, but her eyes were full of anger. Qin Sheng deliberately tortured her like this, but she could not do anything, which made her feel very ashamed. "Why? You have already started to hate me. You have to know that this is your choice. If you want to hate someone, you have to hate yourself," Qin Sheng said unconcernedly. Yu Fengji remained silent. Yes, even if she wanted to hate someone, she had to hate herself. This was her own choice. If she wanted to get something, she had to pay the price, unless she regretted it now. But she had already come this far. How could she regret? "Let's get down to business. Has Wang Haichao come to work these days?" Qin Sheng changed the topic. Yu Fengji nodded and said, "As soon as you left, he came to work as if nothing had happened. He behaved very calmly, as usual, doing what he should do. The more normal, the more abnormal. I overtook him in a curve, so he must be unhappy. But I'm very surprised that he did not resign. I don't know if he is tolerant enough, or he is reluctant to give up the treatment of Shangshan Ruoxie," Qin Sheng said thoughtfully. Yu Fengji shook her head and said, "I don't know. You have to find the answer yourself. You go to work, and later on time for the regular meeting. Inform me when Mizan arrives," Qin Sheng ordered. Just when Yu Fengji was about to open the door and leave, she heard Qin Sheng shouting behind her, "I remember you said last time that you would give me a key to your house. Where's the key?" This sentence made Yu Fengji ashamed and annoyed. She turned back and stared at Qin Sheng, and quickly ran away from the devil in front of her, leaving Qin Sheng with a burst of laughter. He did not expect that Yu Fengji had such a cute side. After Mizan arrived, Qin Sheng went to her office. During this period of time, she would make do in Su Lanqing's office. When her office was cleaned up, she would move in. Chang Baji had been staying in the former security manager's office. After becoming the deputy general manager in charge of the overall situation, Ms. Anne's aura was different. But after seeing Qin Sheng, she was still polite and smiled. "You're finally back. You're not allowed to ask for leave this month." "Ha ha, Ms. Anne, don't worry. I will not ask for leave this month. I will go to work on time every day." Qin Sheng sat down, took the water poured by Ms. Anne, and said in a deep voice. Ms. Anne took the initiative and said, "When you were not here, Wang Haichao came to me and wanted to reconcile with you. He was afraid that you would still remember the past, so he asked me to talk to you. What do you think? Anyway, I think Wang Haichao is still capable. After this incident, he will definitely be more low-key. It is impossible for him to provoke you. He can stay. If you feel that he is not suitable, it is okay even if you fire him. Anyway, you have said that you will promote Liu Yuan. There are many capable people in the reception department. Qin Sheng knew that Mizzen had given the initiative to him. Of course, he would not fire Wang Haichao. Otherwise, how could he stand in Shangshan Ruoshui in the future? Everyone thought that he was narrow-minded. If Wang Haichao was sensible and cooperated with him, then there would be no problem. So Qin Sheng smiled and said, I will talk to him later. Okay, I will not go to announce the appointment of Liu Yuan as the deputy manager of the reception department. There is still a lot of things to deal with in the finance department. I will ask Lao Chong to go there, Mizzen said casually. Qin Sheng asked casually, What's wrong with the finance department? Nothing, just a small matter. Don't worry, Mizzen said with a smile. This time, everyone attended the regular meeting of the reception department. This was Qin Sheng's first meeting. Chang Baji stood in the middle, and Qin Sheng stood beside Chang Baji. On one side were Wang Haichao and Liu Yuan, and on the other side was Yu Fengji. The process of the regular meeting was very simple. Chang Baji said some official words, saying that Shangshan Ruoshui had made some personnel changes for better service and management. Qin Sheng had become the manager of the reception department. He hoped that everyone in the reception department could support Qin Sheng's work and hoped that the reception department could be improved under Qin Sheng's leadership. Then, he announced that Liu Yuan would be the deputy manager of the reception department. What followed was the conversation between Qin Sheng and Liu Yuan, which was also boring. As for Liu Yuan's promotion, Wang Haichao was not surprised and kept smiling. After the meeting, Chang Baji left. Qin Sheng patted Wang Haichao's shoulder and smiled. Old Wang, let's talk. Everyone in the reception department stared at the leaders on the stage. Of course, they noticed Qin Sheng and Wang Haichao's actions. Everyone had their own thoughts. Everyone knew that these two did not get along in the past. However, Qin Sheng was promoted step by step and eventually surpassed Wang Haichao. Wang Haichao was not convinced and did not know what the result would be. After walking into the office, Qin Sheng said casually, Old Wang, sit. Then, he threw a cigarette to Wang Haichao and lit it without hesitation. Wang Haichao hesitated for a moment and followed suit. He heard Qin Sheng say, I guess many people outside are waiting to see us make a fool of ourselves. I guess they are waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Wang Haichao smiled awkwardly. This was also a sign of weakness to Qin Sheng. This sentence also showed his attitude, which was to lower his head to Qin Sheng. Every teenager used to be full of passion, but in the end, they were polished by the society. Wang Haichao used to be like this, but he was already in his 30s and had to lower his head to the society. If he did not lower his head, he could only get out of here. How could he find such a well-paid and decent job at the age of 30? Therefore, he had no choice but to convince himself. What Qin Sheng needed to do was to take a step back and give Wang Haichao a way out. Old Wang, let's be honest. We used to have conflicts, but they were all related to work. Maybe our characters and ways of doing things were different, but there was no real personal grudge. You were a senior in Shangshan Ruoshui. Whether it is qualifications or ability, you are above me. But I came to Shangshan Ruoshui for a different starting point, so I can advance faster than you. I know you have grievances in your heart. If it were me, I would do the same, don't you think? Qin Sheng said slowly. No matter what Wang Haichao thought in his heart, at this moment, he could only say, Manager Qin is right. You are too polite. There is no outsider here. You can call me Little Qin. Qin Sheng gave Wang Haichao enough face. Wang Haichao smiled bitterly and said, Manager Qin, I know what you want to say. No matter what happened in the past is right or wrong, it is in the past. In the future, I will naturally cooperate with your work. As you said, there is no personal grudge between us. Really no personal grudge? Wang Haichao thought. He told himself again that he was lowering his head to reality and did not know Qin Sheng. If there was a chance, he would definitely fight back. Hearing Wang Haichao still called him Manager Qin and the tone in his words, Qin Sheng knew that the grudge between him and Wang Haichao was destined to be unresolvable. In the future, Wang Haichao might trip him up at the critical moment. Therefore, Qin Sheng decided to find a chance to get rid of Wang Haichao, but not now. Old Wang, I am relieved to hear your words. Although he said that, he was definitely not at ease in his heart. But he still had to say so. After all, he was the leader. Wang Haichao did not want to continue to stay. Feeling that it was enough, he stood up and said, Manager Qin, if there's nothing else, I will go to work. Okay. Qin Sheng nodded and then sent Wang Haichao out with a smile. Chapter 137. Impossible in the face of reality, many so-called sly and sophisticated people did not feel that it was a big deal to lose their backbone and dignity. To them, this was just a way to be flexible. Yes, the society was too complicated. This was just a means of survival. As long as one endured humiliation, one would get back everything that belonged to him sooner or later. Most people would make the same choice when faced with Wang Haichao's situation. It was just that some people did it to the extreme. Wang Haichao's cultivation was not high enough. At least, everything that he had shown made Qin Sheng wary. After Wang Haichao left, Liu Yuan followed him in and thanked Wang Haichao straightforwardly. By now, he had figured out everything. Without Wang Haichao, he would not have been able to sit in this position. If Qin Sheng did not come, there would not be a third deputy manager position. If it was someone else, he might not make a promise to him. It could only be said that Qin Sheng valued friendship and was reliable. So Liu Yuan planned to return the favor and stand on Qin Sheng's side faithfully. At this point, the reception department of Shangshan Ruoshui was completely controlled by Qin Sheng. 2 of the 3 managers had become his loyal confidants. As for Wang Haichao, he was not worth mentioning. After Jiang Xinbang's accident, coupled with a series of events, the business of Shangshan Ruoshui was not as good as before. So there were basically no guests at noon, although there were some groundless things. Otherwise, Jiang Xianbang could not leave the country to Hong Kong smoothly. Those shrewd businessmen would subconsciously avoid arousing suspicion, so as not to get into trouble. Qin Sheng could not help but think about what he had talked about with Xue Qingyan. If things were really getting worse, he could let Jiang Xianbang consider selling the shares or transfer the shares to someone else. After all, the 6 VVIP members all had the intention to take over the shares. Shangshan Ruoshui had accumulated over the years. It was a good deal. Qin Sheng was most willing to let Xue Qingyan take over the shares. At lunchtime, Qin Sheng ran to the music academy. He already knew where Qing was attending class from the old butler. After all, the old butler had arranged people to protect Qing and would not let anyone do anything to her at this time. So Qin Sheng was waiting under the teaching building before the class was over. Whether it was the Academy of Music or the Academy of Drama, there were definitely many beauties. Therefore, in the economically developed Shanghai, this place had become a disaster area. Every day, there were countless playboys hunting for beauties here. A beauty like Qing naturally could not escape their range. However, with Jiang Xianbang, no one dared to act rashly. As soon as the bell rang, the students jumped out of the classroom. For the students, this was the best music to listen to. Qing who was dressed in fresh and refined clothes, was surrounded by a few students. They chatted as they walked. Everyone liked a beautiful teacher like her. Qin Sheng stood not far away. When Qing came closer, he walked over slowly and said with a smile, "Beauty, can I treat you to a meal?" A few of Qing students looked at her with contempt. Anyway, they knew that teacher Qing had a lot of pursuers. She would often encounter such uninvited guests. Teacher Qing had always ignored them. But this time, just when they thought that teacher Qing might ignore them again, Qing subconsciously stopped and frowned slightly. "Why are you here?" With one sentence, a few students instantly started gossiping. Obviously, teacher Qing Er's relationship with this man was not simple. Why can't I come? Qin Sheng made a pose that he thought was very handsome, but in the eyes of others, he looked stupid. Qing thought for a moment and let the students around her go first. A few students said goodbye and left first, but they did not go far and stopped to watch from a distance. It was rare to see a man so close to teacher Qing. Naturally, they wanted to gossip. What's the matter? Since her uncle went to Hong Kong, Qing Er's mood was not good. She was not good to Qin Sheng at first, and now it was even worse. Qin Sheng walked in front of Qing and said, I say, we are not enemies who killed our father. Can you not be so cold? I came to see you with good intentions. At least smile, right? If you have something to say, I'll go back. Qing snorted coldly. Qin Sheng said helplessly, Nothing, I just came back yesterday. Today I came to see you. After all, Uncle Jiang asked me to take care of you and treat you to a meal. I'm not hungry. You go eat by yourself. Qing directly refused. Qin Sheng said playfully, You really don't want to go? I'm not going. Qing gritted her teeth. Qin Sheng showed a wretched smile and said, If you don't go, I will immediately shout that you are pregnant with my child, and now you turn against me and want to kill my child. It was the peak time after classes were over. There were students and teachers everywhere on the road. Moreover, many people were staring here. If Qin Sheng really did this, then Qing Er's reputation would really be ruined. In the future, there would be many rumors in this music school. Qing heard this and gritted her teeth angrily. Shameless. Shamelessness is my biggest strength. Thank you for your praise. Qin Sheng said indifferently. Are you going or not? What could Qing do when she met a hooligan like Qin Sheng? She was also very desperate. For the sake of her innocence and reputation, she could only leave with Qin Sheng. There were too many places to eat in Middle Huaihai Road, so they randomly found a Chinese restaurant. Qing really did not have much appetite. After eating a few mouthfuls, she put down her chopsticks. However, Qin Sheng's appetite was good. He swept away everything, which made Qing angry. Are you here to treat me to a meal, or to ask me to accompany you? I'm treating you to a meal. You can't let me go hungry. It doesn't make sense. Besides, I'm treating you. At least I have to eat more, so that I won't lose money, Qin Sheng said without raising his head. Qing was speechless. How can you be so thick-skinned? Where did you learn this nonsense every day? I'll get used to it. Qin Sheng raised his head and smiled. But his mouth was full of oil, and there was still residue on his teeth. It really spoiled the mood. Qing really wanted to say, I don't know you. Last time when Qing asked Qin Sheng about Jiang Xianbang, Qin Sheng casually answered, which made Qing fall out with him. This time, Qin Sheng really wanted to have a good chat. After eating and drinking to his heart's content and wiping his mouth, Qin Sheng said seriously, During this period, you'd better stay in Shanghai. If there's nothing, don't go out. Go home early at night. No matter what happens, as long as you feel something is wrong, call me immediately. I think I'll be there as soon as possible. Did something happen to Uncle? Qing asked nervously. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, No, it's just that Uncle Jiang is not here. I'm afraid that someone will harm you. Last time when you asked me about Uncle Jiang, it's not that I don't want to say it, it's that Uncle Jiang didn't allow me to say it. Who knew that you vented your anger on me? Humph. Qing snorted and did not intend to apologize. Qin Sheng continued, But I think that since you're such an adult, there are some things that you should know. At least in this way, you can pay attention to it. Then tell me now. Qing said very seriously. Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, No one can have a smooth sailing life, and no one can always grasp the pulse of the times. Ups and downs are normal. Uncle Jiang's backer might be in trouble, so someone started to target him. There are two purposes. One is to suppress Uncle Jiang. The other is to use Uncle Jiang as a breakthrough point. But currently, the backer has not completely collapsed. Otherwise, Uncle Jiang would have been in trouble. Uncle Jiang is an old fox. Maybe he has a very wide network, so he got the news in advance and went to Hong Kong. Although Qin Sheng said it very lightly, Qing felt that it was quite serious. She could not help but ask, Then what should we do? What do we do? This kind of thing, you and I can't do anything. The only thing we can do is not be a burden. So during this time, you have to listen to me. Don't let others use you to threaten Uncle Jiang. Qin Sheng reminded her kindly. Although Qing was very unwilling to listen to Qin Sheng, for Uncle Jiang's sake, she could only nod and say, okay. Finally, Qing was settled. If he knew it was so easy, Qin Sheng would not have listened to old Jiang. After all, this girl did not have a good impression of him. The two were like enemies in the previous life, always unable to talk to each other. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng got off work early. Yu Fengji and Liu Yuan were both here today, so he did not need to worry much. He had to worry about his marriage, so he prepared to pick Lin Su up from work and go on a date together. Qin Sheng did not inform Lin Su in advance. He rushed to Poly Square before work. He waited until 6 o'clock, but Lin Su did not come out. Qin Sheng could not help but call her. People who are better than you work harder than you. You really don't give us losers a way out. What do you mean? Lin Su was confused. Qin Sheng curled his lips and said, are you working overtime again? How do you know? Lin Su laughed. Qin Sheng shivered and said, I've been waiting downstairs of your company for almost an hour, and I am almost frozen. How do you think I know? Then continue to freeze, Lin Su said with a smile. Qin Sheng quickly said, Madam, don't. What if you freeze to death? Come down quickly, I will take you to eat. 10 minutes, Lin Su said simply and directly. She hung up the phone. After Qin Sheng was frozen for another 10 minutes, Lin Su came out. Seeing Qin Sheng standing in the cold wind, she was more or less touched. She wrapped her down jacket tightly and said with a smile, don't you know to find a place to sit for a while? There's several cafes nearby. You're feeling sorry for me, aren't you? Qin Sheng said. Lin Su stared at Qin Sheng and said, since you are so sincere, what do you want to eat? It is my treat today. Then I have to make a good meal out of you, Qin Sheng said bluntly. They were not in a hurry to eat. Lin Su said that she was not very hungry, so Qin Sheng accompanied her for a walk. Lin Su smiled and asked Qin Sheng what he did these days. Qin Sheng just said that he met up with his former classmates and friends. As they walked, they came across an old man's roadside stall. It was winter, and the old man still came out to set up a stall. It could be seen that life was not easy. Lin Su said that they should eat here. Qin Sheng agreed without thinking. Dumplings, dumplings. These were Lin Su's sumptuous meals. However, to Qin Sheng, it was not important what he ate. What was important was who he ate with and who he liked. Even if it was a roadside stall, it was much more delicious than the delicacies of the Manchu Han Imperial Feast. After the meal, Qin Sheng sent Lin Su back. They still took the bus. There were many people on the bus. Qin Sheng protected Lin Su in front of him. Their posture was a little ambiguous, as if Qin Sheng was hugging Lin Su. At first, Lin Su was not used to it and was more or less embarrassed. But slowly she got used to it. Although Qin Sheng had not caught up with Lin Su, now they were already like a pair of lovers. They still separated downstairs in the residential area. Qin Sheng waited for Lin Su to go in before leaving. He even hummed along the way. Not long after he walked out of the residential area, Qin Sheng was stopped by an uninvited guest. The man was about 40 years old. He looked ordinary, no different from most men in their 40s. He directly blocked in front of Qin Sheng. It seemed that he did not come with good intentions, but he did not make a move directly. What's the matter? Qin Sheng squinted and said, always on guard against unknown dangers. The man's face was gloomy. He said, young man, listen to me, stay away from her. Chapter 138. This was the Bund. No matter how stupid Yin Xiaozong was, he already knew that Qin Sheng and Lin Su were not ordinary friends. Qin Sheng sent flowers every day, met up with her every few days, and sent Lin Su home every time. If there was no problem with this, he could only say that he was too naive. Even he did not receive such treatment. The most important thing was that Lin Su did not reject him. Therefore, Yin Xiaozong sent someone to warn Qin Sheng and also to test him. He did not come in person because he did not want to make a big fuss and also did not want Lin Su to dislike him. However, If he did not do anything and let them go to that stage, he would be embarrassed and become a joke to many people. The man in front of him was a master of the Yin family. Therefore, when facing Qin Sheng, he was fearless and spoke in a condescending manner. After all, he represented Yin Chaozong. How could Qin Sheng not guess who had sent these people? Other than Lin Su's #1 protector, Yin Chaozong, he really could not think of anyone else. Moreover, when Qin Sheng knew about Yin Chaozong, he knew that this day would come sooner or later. There's no need to respond so impulsively. I can give you 3 days. 3 days later, I will look for you. At that time, I hope to hear the answer I want. The middle-aged man sneered. Anyway, he was only here to pass on a message. It was okay even if he rejected. As long as his master did not say anything, he would not act rashly. Even if it's 3 days later, this will still be my answer. Tell the person behind you that if I like Lin Su, that's my business. If he also likes Lin Su, he can pursue her with his own ability. Who Lin Su chooses in the end, that's her freedom. No one can control her choice, Qin Sheng said firmly. Newborn calves are really not afraid of tigers. I understand. After saying this, the middle-aged man directly turned around and left. Qin Sheng stood still and fell into deep thought. Obviously, Yin Chaozong had started to take action. If Yin Chaozong used a soft approach, it would be fine. If he really used a hard approach, it would be really troublesome. After all, his biggest support, Jiang Xianbang, was not in Shanghai. Even if he was in Shanghai, he might not be able to resist the pressure from the Yin family. Therefore, what he needed was Lin Su's choice. If Lin Su really chose him, then no matter how capable Yin Chaozong was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. At that time, if Yin Chaozong still continued to pester them, they could choose to develop in other cities. The Yin family wasn't that capable. In the evening, after Qin Sheng returned to Shilin Huayuan, he called Jiang Xianbang first and asked him how things were going in Hong Kong. Jiang Xianbang smiled and said, "Everything is going well, except that I'm very bored. I went to Macau twice and lost some money." Qin Sheng was speechless as he said, "It seems that you are really bored." Jiang Xianbang had bought a lot of property over the years. In the early years, he had bought 3 villas in Hong Kong. Now he was living in Repulse Bay, which was a famous wealthy area in Hong Kong. The housing prices were ridiculously expensive. After Jiang Xianbang arrived in Hong Kong, he had been living here. He had hired a professional security company to protect him. There were bodyguards everywhere he went. In addition, there were naturally beautiful women accompanying him. Otherwise, these lonely and unbearable days were indeed a little boring. I don't have enough funds here. Recently, I'm waiting for the funds in China to arrive. I'm preparing to do something overseas, Jiang Xianbang said thoughtfully. Qin Sheng frowned and said, "It seems that there's news. Are you preparing to withdraw from the country?" "Not really. I'm just taking precautions. During this time, Old Su has been helping me deal with the assets and property in China. Losing some money is nothing. As long as I'm still alive, after the matter is over, I can still go back," Jiang Xianbang said truthfully. Although Jiang Xianbang said it very lightly, Qin Sheng felt that it must be that the matter was getting more and more serious, which led to Jiang Xianbang having to make such a choice. Moreover, with the current financial policy, whether it was hot money or black money, it was easy to come in, but it was extremely difficult to go out. Jiang Xianbang was equivalent to a clearance sale. Qin Sheng did not expect that as soon as he returned to Shanghai, he would encounter 2 disturbances in a row. First, it was Han Guoping, then it was Jiang Xianbang. They were both influential figures for many years. Unfortunately, in the end, something happened to Han Guoping. Han Guoping was more miserable and chose to commit suicide. Jiang Xianbang was a few levels higher than him and had a towering tree behind him. That was why he could escape and watch the tigers fight. However, for Qin Sheng, this was not good news. After Jiang Xianbang left Shanghai, he would lose his biggest backer. Everything had to start from scratch. Although Qin Sheng was very unwilling, he had to accept this fact. After all, even if there was a benefactor to help him, he also had to have the ability. Well, what about Shangshan Ruoshui? Qin Sheng said thoughtfully. For Jiang Xianbang, Shangshan Ruoshui was just one of many industries, so he did not care about it. He said casually, recently, a friend has already consulted me and is considering it. However, I also recommended you to him. Even if it is transferred to someone else, you can still continue to stay in Shangshan Ruoshui. It has to be bossy, Qin Sheng asked subconsciously. Jiang Xianbang was not surprised and said, it seems that Lao Yi has contacted you. You can meet Lao Yi. He and I have been good friends for many years. Although we do not usually contact each other, he can help at critical moments. Okay. Qin Sheng then understood. No wonder Boss Yi wanted to find him. It turned out that it was Jiang Xianbang's recommendation. But then he said, besides Boss Yi, are you not considering anyone else? Who? Tell me, Jiang Xianbang said curiously. Qin Sheng said bluntly, Sister Shui also wants to take over Shangshan Ruoshui. If Sister Shui can become the boss, or one of the bosses, then I can have a firm foothold in Shangshan Ruoshui. It seems that you have been getting along well with Qingyan these days. It is good that you have reached this stage. If Qingyan is really interested, you can ask her to contact me. I want to have a good talk with her. But her brother's identity is too special. I am afraid that she will have scruples. Jiang Xianbang said meaningfully. He knew what Qin Sheng meant. Qin Sheng and Qin Yan were close. If Qin Yan took over Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Sheng would be guaranteed freedom and status there. But if Lao Yi took over, it might not be so easy. After all, Lao Yi and Qin Sheng were not familiar. Jiang Xianbang was right. This was exactly what Qin Sheng was concerned about. Qin Sheng chuckled and said, okay, then I will ask Sister Shui later. If she is interested, then she will contact you. Help me pay more attention to Qing. Accompany her when you are free. I'm going to ask her to come to Hong Kong. I don't know if she is willing. Jiang Xianbang sighed. He was also forced to do this. Qin Sheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, she and I are enemies in the previous life. I will not see her if I can. As for letting her go to Hong Kong, it depends on what she thinks. I can't do anything about it. Okay, don't talk nonsense. It is late. I'm hanging up. Jiang Xianbang laughed and scolded. His mistress next to him had already begun to act coquettishly. The girls in Hong Kong were much more open than the mainland. As long as they were willing to spend money, there would naturally be people who would take the bait. After the phone call, Qin Sheng came out of the bedroom. Chang Baji had not slept yet. He was watching TV. This uncle loved to watch some outdoor star reality shows and funny variety shows. He was so old, but still liked to chase stars. It really made Qin Sheng speechless. Why do you look so worried? Chang Baji put down the remote control and asked casually. Qin Sheng sighed and said, Jiang Xianbang's matter is a bit serious. Now, they have begun to transfer assets. Shangshan Ruoshui is also among them. Chang Baji could not help but frown. This was not a small matter. Both of them now relied on Jiang Xianbang to make a living. He stood up and said, what are you going to do? Does he have any arrangements for you? I'm not sure at the moment. I will take one step at a time. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. The sun rose, but life still had to go on. Sometimes people should be prepared for danger in times of peace, and sometimes they should not worry too much. Qin Sheng was indeed ambitious, but after all, he had to be down to earth. To be able to stand at the top of the pyramid of this city, didn't it take decades to reach that step? Some of them even experienced generations of struggle. He had only returned to Shanghai for a few months. Why would he think so much? Moreover, the current him was much stronger than many people in this city. The business of Shangshan Ruoshui was still not doing well. However, today there was a guest who was Qin Sheng's acquaintance. It was Zhao Zishi, whom Qin Sheng met for the first time when he went to Jiang Xianbang's garden house. Qin Sheng had long known that he was also a member of Shangshan Ruoshui, but he had never seen him come here before. This time when he just arrived, he directly called for him. Yu Fengji received Zhao Zishi and immediately informed Qin Sheng to come over. Qin Sheng quickly went upstairs, where Yu Fengji was introducing the rules of Shangshan Ruoshui to Zhao Zishi. Brother Zhao, what a rare guest. What brings you here? Qin Sheng pushed the door open and said with a smile. Zhao Zishi was dressed more formally. He had an outstanding temperament, and the most important thing was that he was even more experienced. No wonder he could sit together with many old big shots like Jiang Xianbang. Obviously, he was not the kind of second generation who only relied on the family background. Yu Fengji also felt that Zhao Zishi was different, so she took the initiative to receive Zhao Zishi personally. However, she did not expect that Zhao Zishi and Qin Sheng actually knew each other. But thinking about it carefully, it was not surprising. Since you didn't ask me out, I could only shamelessly take the initiative to come to you. Zhao Zishi joked, which was considered to be giving Qin Sheng enough face. To be honest, Qin Sheng was really not in his league. Jiang Xianbang asked him to take care of Qin Sheng, so he came over to take a look. Qin Sheng hurriedly said, "Brother Zhao, you must be joking. I have been very busy these days. I was just about to ask you out." "I was just joking. I happened to pass by today. I heard from Uncle Jiang that you were here, so I came over to talk to you," Zhao Zishi said truthfully. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Thank you for thinking about me, Brother Zhao." Yu Fengji was still standing next to him. Qin Sheng felt a little uncomfortable, so he nodded to Yu Fengji. Yu Fengji then left, but before she left, she stared at Qin Sheng, but Zhao Zishi did not see it. After Qin Sheng sat down, he poured tea for Zhao Zishi, and the two chatted. Qin Sheng did not have any questions. Zhao Zishi also did not take the initiative to talk about Jiang Xianbang. The two maintained a tacit understanding. Chapter 139. Being considered in the bund, there were not many young people who did not take him seriously, except for those big shots whose family backgrounds were more deep-rooted than his, or those masters from Sijio City who pretended to be weak to eat the tiger, or those disciples of the Zhao family who were extremely powerful in the Yangtze River Delta. However, Qin Sheng, who was just an ordinary person, did not take him seriously at all. It would be a lie if Yin Chaozong said that he was not angry. Yin Chaozong had been staring at the Liu family's mouth opposite him in a daze. After an unknown period of time, he called his secretary to call over two of his trusted subordinates. One of them was the middle-aged man who had gone to look for Qin Sheng last night, and the other was the bodyguard and trusted subordinate who had followed Qin Sheng like a shadow. He was also an outstanding junior who had been cultivated by the Yin family since young. Half an hour later, the two men appeared in Yin Chaozong's office. This building was the property of the Yin family. However, this was not the headquarters of the Yin family's company. It was just one of the subsidiaries. Yin Chaozong was the chairman. He was currently the first in the succession sequence of the Yin family. The others were not as good as him. Although Yin Chaozong's father did not have a high position in the family, the old master had high hopes for Yin Chaozong. "Young master, are you looking for us?" The middle-aged man and the young junior came in and stood not far away. He asked respectfully. Yin Chaozong turned his head and stared at the middle-aged man who went to look for Qin Sheng last night. "Uncle Zhen, did you expose your identity yesterday?" "No, I only chatted with him for a while and left. However, this young man is very confident. I really don't know if he really has a powerful background, or is it just empty talk," the middle-aged man, who was called Uncle Zhen, said softly. Yin Chaozong laughed coldly. "I don't know about other things, but in terms of personal strength, this man is indeed not simple. He is the Tiger Man who killed Third Master Wu's favorite general. He might also be the mastermind behind the death of Zhao Dongsheng and Zhou Wenwu." "No wonder," Uncle Zhen said in shock. "Young master, if this is really the case, I think we have to investigate further. Find out his identity and background before choosing how to deal with him. Don't let us be at a disadvantage." Uncle Zhen reminded subconsciously. Although the Yin family was very powerful, compared to the big families in Sijio City, the Yin family was really nothing. He might be a junior of some family. Yin Chaozong said disapprovingly, "Don't worry. I've already asked Feng He to investigate everything that needs to be investigated. After confirming it repeatedly, I'll let you go to him." "Young master, what do you think we should do?" Uncle Zhen frowned and said. Yin Chaozong glanced at Feng He, who was beside him. It was obvious that he was asking for his opinion. Feng He was brave and resourceful. He did things in a meticulous manner. More importantly, he was cruel and merciless. He was also very important to the Yin family, which was why Yin Chaozong focused on training him. Feng He thought for a while and said, "Young master, to be honest, this matter is a little difficult to handle. Firstly, this Qin Sheng is not a good person. I always feel that something is wrong. He is a character without any background. How did he get to know Han Guoping? How did he get to know Jiang Xianbang? What's more, he was chosen by Jiang Xianbang. It's understandable that he knew Shui Qingyan. However, to be able to be so close to Miss Shui, doesn't he have some skills? Secondly, this man is definitely a ruthless character. However, he is also very cautious. For example, when he was dealing with Yang Deng, he did not kill him. However, when he was dealing with Zhao Dongsheng and Zhou Wenwu, he eliminated them completely. He did it in such a way that no one knew about it. Lastly, there's your relationship with Miss Lin. If young master touches him, will it cause Miss Lin to feel conflicted? By then, it will affect your relationship." After Feng He finished speaking, Yin Chaozong nodded his head in satisfaction. Feng He was indeed very thoughtful. He had also voiced out all his doubts. Yin Chaozong was most worried about the first and third points. The second point was not much of a threat. Uncle Zhen also agreed. Feng He is right. Young master, you have to think about it. Feng He, go to Xin again. Find out his background in Xian, including his grandfather and the situation of his foster parents' family. Uncle Zhen, help me keep an eye on him. Also, help me find out what's going on with Jiang Xianbei. Let him run wild for a few days first. Yin Chaozong arranged after careful consideration. Uncle Zhen asked, 3 days later, do I still need to look for him? No need, there's no hurry. In a while, if he really challenges my bottom line, I'll destroy him. Yin Chaozong punched the table. Over at Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Sheng had not realized that danger was approaching. He was chatting happily with Zhao Zixi. Zhao Zixi impression of Qin Sheng deepened. Jiang Xianbang had helped him a few times. Hence, Zhao Zixi did not keep his distance from Jiang Xianbang just because something happened to him. Most of the time, he was not willing to do the icing on the cake. He was more willing to help in times of need. In this way, the smallest investment could be exchanged for the biggest return. He was not the icing on the cake, which had always been wasted. Brother Zhao, when are you free? Let's meet up and have a good drink. Zhao Zixi was preparing to leave. Qin Sheng left a good excuse for the next meeting. Zhao Zixi did not reject and replied, I know that your alcohol tolerance is not bad. I guess I'm not your opponent. However, I could drink a little. If I really get drunk, I think I'll have to kneel on the washboard when I get home. Qin Sheng laughed and said, I didn't expect Brother Zhao to be a henpecked man. Sometimes, a successful career does not necessarily mean a happy family. I want to have the best of both worlds. Zhao Zixi patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, All right, let's not talk anymore. I have to go. Qin Sheng sent Zhao Zixi away from Shangshan Ruoshui. When he returned to his office and sat down, Yu Fengji pushed the door open and entered. She asked curiously, What does this man do? He has quite a temperament. Why? You're in love. Do you want me to introduce you? Qin Sheng looked up and smiled. Yu Fengji snorted, If you're willing, I don't mind. Qin Sheng stood up and walked in front of Yu Fengji. He pressed her directly against the door and sneered. Have you forgotten your identity? Yu Fengji was a little nervous. To her, Qin Sheng was like Pandora's box. She was afraid, curious, and wanted to approach him step by step. Qin Sheng looked Yu Fengji up and down. He gently stroked Yu Fengji's hair and said with a smirk, I'm thinking about when to take you down, an ice beauty. After all, when a flower blooms, it must be plucked straight. Don't wait until there are no flowers. Yu Fengji's face was expressionless. She could not say, Come on, master. That was not her style. But she knew that when she chose to surrender to Qin Sheng, it was only a matter of time. Qin Sheng liked Yu Fengji's cold demeanor the most. The more she behaved like this, the more he wanted to conquer her. So suddenly, without any warning, Qin Sheng directly kissed Yu Fengji's tender and beautiful lips. Yu Fengji was stunned. She opened her eyes wide and was at a loss. She did not expect Qin Sheng to be so unscrupulous in the office. She just bit her lips subconsciously. Women needed to be nourished by men, and men also needed to be nourished by women. Qin Sheng had not felt the taste of kissing for some time. But after all, he was a man who had been in love and had a few relationships. He still had the skills to break through Yu Fengji's teeth. So Qin Sheng's idle hands directly climbed up Yu Fengji's soft breasts and moved his hands without any scruples. The softness there made Qin Sheng a little excited. After all, Yu Fengji was a woman, and a woman's body was naturally sensitive. She just let out a moan and opened her tightly clenched teeth. Therefore, Qin Sheng's tongue went straight in and scrupulously enjoying his spoils of war. Yu Fengji wanted to push Qin Sheng away, but she did not have the strength at all. After a little resistance, she completely accepted her fate. She closed her eyes and let Qin Sheng take advantage of her. This kiss made Yu Fengji a little confused. It was not until Qin Sheng's hands left her breasts and went straight to her most secret place from her thighs that Yu Fengji came back to her senses. She did not know where she got the strength from, but she pushed Qin Sheng away. "Not here," Yu Fengji said in a panic. She regretted saying this as soon as she said it. The other meaning of this sentence seemed to be tacitly approving of Qin Sheng's behavior, and also tacitly approving of his further development in the future. Qin Sheng said calmly, "That's true. This place is really not suitable. Anyway, I have the key to your house. I don't care about this for a while." Yu Fengji stared at Qin Sheng fiercely, but it also looked like a flirting couple. She was afraid that if she stayed here, Qin Sheng would go wild and do something to her. She quickly tidied up her clothes and ran away. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng invited Xue Qingyan to have dinner with him and brought Xue Hao along. Originally, Qin Sheng wanted to tutor Xue Hao, but he was too busy during this period, so he gave up. The place for dinner was near Xue Qingyan's neighborhood. It was an old hot pot restaurant in Chongqing. It was the most suitable place to eat hot pot in winter. Not long after Qin Sheng arrived, Xue Qingyan brought Xue Hao over. "Sister, this is for you. I brought it back from Xin a few days ago." Qin Sheng picked up the bag beside him and handed it to Xue Qingyan. It was a souvenir from Xin. It was a small gift, but it was also a token of my appreciation. Xue Qingyan took the bag and sat down. She chuckled and said, "Yo, I didn't expect you to still remember me. How could I forget you, sister?" Qin Sheng said cheerfully. Xue Hao frowned and said, "Hold on, aunt. What's wrong? Qin Sheng called you sister. Isn't he bullying me? I have to call him uncle. This can't be. I'm at a disadvantage." Qin Sheng and Xue Qingyan were surprised when they heard this. How could they have thought of this? "Ha ha." Xue Qingyan could not help but cover her mouth and laughed. She wanted to see how Qin Sheng would deal with Xue Hao. Qin Sheng smiled cheekily and said indifferently, "It's your own business. Why do you have so much nonsense? If you put your effort into studying, let alone Tsinghua University, even Harvard and Yale would be a piece of cake." Xue Hao was about to refute, but Qin Sheng stared at him fiercely, hinting that if he dared to say another word, he would tell his aunt about his puppy love. Let's see if she would punish him. Xue Hao was really calm. After the pot was opened, the three of them chatted while eating. Qin Sheng always had a way to make Xue Qingyan laugh. Anyway, he had a way to deal with women. Xue Qingyan listened to Qin Sheng's jokes and anecdotes. Chapter 140. A birthday gift. Asking for monthly votes? Give me some monthly votes. Qin Sheng and Xue Qingyan's relationship could go this far because Qin Sheng treated her with sincerity. Secondly, Qin Sheng never dropped the ball at critical moments. Thirdly, Qin Sheng was indeed capable in all aspects, which was why Xue Qingyan valued him so much. In the beginning, Qin Sheng was a little bit of a man's interest in Xue Qingyan. However, he knew that such a woman was not something he could get, at least based on his current status. It was like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Later on, he became familiar with Xue Qingyan and treated her as his sister. After all, Xue Qingyan was very concerned about him. Whether it was his life or his career, She would always help him. Qin Sheng would smile, even in his dreams, to have such a sister. So when he heard Xue Hao say such words, Qin Sheng covered his mouth and said, "What the F asterisk CK? Lower your voice. Don't let your aunt hear you. What do you mean by I want to be your uncle? Do you think a loser like me is good enough for your aunt?" Ha 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 ha. Xue Hao laughed unscrupulously and said, "Can't you be a little more mature? Look at how scared you are. I'm just saying, if you want to be my uncle, even if my aunt agrees, my family will never agree." "I know my place," Qin Sheng said disdainfully. Xue Hao looked back at his aunt, who was still talking on the phone in the distance. He then lowered his voice and said, "Qin Sheng, but I feel that my aunt likes you a little. At least she has a good impression of you. Are you really not interested? Get lost. Don't set me up." Qin Sheng pushed Xue Hao away. Xue Hao rolled his eyes and said, "TSK, what are you afraid of? My family will not agree. I support you. My aunt is already so old. If she doesn't get married soon, my family will go crazy. Who she loves has nothing to do with me." Qin Sheng quickly drew the line. He knew that some things could not be crossed. If he crossed the line, he would not be able to be friends anymore. He had already offended young Master Yin by pursuing Lin Su. If he were to have an ambiguous relationship with Xue Qingyan, he would offend many people. Xue Qingyan was not like Lin Su. At this time, Xue Qingyan came back after the phone call. She looked playful. "What were you two whispering about just now? Why did you keep peeking at me?" "It's nothing, Andy. We all say that you're the prettiest girl in the hot pot restaurant today. Look at those men's eyes. They're practically drooling," Xue Hao said flatteringly. Ever since he arrived in Shanghai, he had been away from his parents more often than not. Most of the time, he was with his aunt. However, his aunt did not treat him like an elder, but more like a sister and a brother. Xue Qingyan enjoyed Qin Sheng's words very much. However, Xue Qingyan still scolded, "Don't talk nonsense. You learned it from Qin Sheng. Hurry up and eat. I'll send you back after eating." Is this called getting shot while lying down? Qin Sheng just picked up a piece of tripe and said with a speechless look. After eating hot pot, Qin Sheng drove Xue Qingyan's Range Rover and sent Xue Hao to the Shanghai concert hall. His mother was waiting there. When they arrived, Qin Sheng did not get out of the car. Xue Qingyan brought Xue Hao there. After a few minutes, Xue Qingyan came back. After getting in the car, Xue Qingyan smiled and said, "Do you want to find a place to drink?" If a woman trusted a man, she would choose to drink alone with him, let alone a beauty. Qin Sheng was confused. "Sister, what's wrong with you today? Are you in a good or bad mood? What do you think?" Xue Qingyan turned her head and smiled. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I don't know. How would I know? What kind of vulgar woman do you think I am?" Xue Qingyan laughed. "Stop guessing. I'm in a good mood. It's still early and I have nothing to do back home. Let's find a place to drink and listen to music. What about the car?" Qin Sheng naturally had to satisfy Xue Qingyan's request. "Leave it there, or find a designated driver," Xue Qingyan said casually. Xue Qingyan had a place that she frequented, which was also on Hengshan Road. The bar was not big or small, but there were already many people there. Xue Qingyan said that it was opened by a friend and she would come here occasionally. There was still wine here. Qin Sheng asked what good wine they had, and Xue Qingyan said that it was the best whiskey and red wine. She even specifically said that it was for herself. Qin Sheng was speechless again. He could understand that red wine was suitable for Xue Qingyan. But what the hell was this whiskey? He was not used to this kind of strong wine. However, Xue Qingyan planned to drink some red wine tonight. She chose a seat with Qin Sheng and listened to the original songs of the resident band. Not long after, the manager came to greet them. The flattering look on his face made Qin Sheng feel disgusted. Fortunately, he left after a glass of wine. "Sister, I talked to old Jiang on the phone last night." Qin Sheng took the initiative to talk about it. He wanted to know Xue Qingyan's attitude. Xue Qingyan nibbled on the watermelon and said softly, "How is old Jiang over there?" "It's good over there. But it seems that old Jiang is planning to withdraw from the country. I was wondering why Manager Su did not show up at all. It turns out that he is helping old Jiang to deal with his assets." Qin Sheng sighed and said. Xue Qingyan was not surprised. In the past 2 years, many people had gotten into trouble. There are many who were more powerful than Jiang Xianbang. Jiang Xianbang was not the first or the second. The anti-corruption force was unprecedentedly strong. Any big shot with original sin could be dug up, but Jiang Xianbang was fine. The tree behind him was thicker. At least it would not be reached in a short time. Otherwise, he would have been in jail long ago. How could he be free in Hong Kong? It's not a bad thing to prepare for a rainy day. Take the opportunity now. When the storm comes, you can't leave even if you want to, Xue Qingyan said with a faint smile. Qin Sheng continued, so Shanshan Ruoshui is also being dealt with. I have asked him. I don't know if you are interested. Xue Qingyan stopped smiling and hesitated. After a while, she said, I have to think about it. After all, this is not a small amount. Even if I take over, I don't have time to take care of it. But I can ask my friends around me to see if they are interested. This is also beneficial to you. To be honest, Qin Sheng was a little disappointed. He had high hopes for Xue Qingyan. He wanted to stay in Shanshan Ruoshui and climb up step by step. Then he would manage his own network and lay a solid foundation for future development. But he could also understand, even if he and Xue Qingyan were very close, it was not to the point where Xue Qingyan would spend a lot of money. This was not a small amount. Moreover, Jiang Xianbang also said that Xue Qingyan's identity was a little special. She had to think about the people behind her. Just as Qin Sheng said, if it was someone else, Xue Qingyan might refuse immediately. But for Qin Sheng, Xue Qingyan still planned to work hard. Sister, I understand what you mean, Qin Sheng said with a smile. Xue Qingyan comforted him. Shanghai is so big. If you leave Shanshan Ruoshui, there will be better places for you to develop. Don't think so much. Qin Sheng nodded. At this time, the resident singer had left. Qin Sheng suddenly had a whim and said, Sister, do you want to hear me sing? How about it? If it's not good, you pay the bill tonight, Xue Qingyan said with a smile. Qin Sheng did not say much. He directly found the manager. After a few words, the manager readily agreed. So Qin Sheng went on the stage. After talking with several band members, he chose a song called Zhang Chu's Sister. Then he stood in front of the microphone and pointed at Xue Qingyan. He smiled and said, a song called Zhang Chu's Sister, for my most beautiful sister. Xue Qingyan thought that Qin Sheng was joking. She did not expect that Qin Sheng would really go on the stage to sing. Looking at his posture, it was obvious that he was serious. Hearing Qin Sheng's words, all the guests present looked at Xue Qingyan. They did not expect that this guy's sister was really a beautiful woman. Xue Qingyan was very embarrassed and lowered her head. The prelude ended. Qin Sheng began to sing. This winter, the snow is not falling standing on a road without blinking. My heartbeat is still gentle. You should give me credit for being good today. My dress is a little too big. You said I looked weird. I know I'm standing in a crowd. Pretty silly. Oh, elder sister, I want to go home. Hold my hand. I'm a little sleepy. Oh, elder sister, take me home. Hold my hand. You don't have to be scared. I'm a little sleepy. The three heroes of the Devil Cliff, Do Wei, Zhang Chu, and He Yong, were the first few big shots of the domestic rock and roll industry. Their concert at Hung Hom in Hong Kong was unparalleled in the limelight. However, in the end, the three of them became immortals, silly and crazy, which made people sigh. Qin Sheng liked the beginning and the end of his sister's lyrics. He didn't feel much about the lyrics in the middle, so when he sang it to Xue Qingyan, he changed it slightly. When he reached the last part of the song, Qin Sheng looked at Xue Qingyan with great sincerity. His voice was full of vicissitudes. Whether it was a folk song or a rock song, he could always sing with his own style. Xue Qingyan was more or less moved. She thought of something inexplicably, and her eyes turned red unconsciously. When the song ended, the whole audience applauded. Qin Sheng was already used to this kind of occasion. Xue Qingyan also clapped with her mouth closed. Qin Sheng bowed and got off the stage. After returning to Xue Qingyan's side, Qin Sheng saw that Xue Qingyan's eyes were red. He was confused and asked, Elder sister, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm just touched, Xue Qingyan said casually. After staying in the bar for less than half an hour, Qin Sheng and Xue Qingyan took a taxi home. Qin Sheng took the key with him. He would send the car to Xue Qingyan's company tomorrow. In the next few days, Qin Sheng was quite busy. However, there was one thing that bothered him. When Lin Su called him, she asked him in advance if he was free next Thursday night. Qin Sheng thought that there were still a few days left, so he said that he didn't know. Lin Su didn't say anything. After hanging up the phone, Qin Sheng kept feeling that something was not right. He lit up a cigarette and racked his brains to think. Suddenly, he thought that it might be Lin Su's birthday. He remembered that when they got a room outside, he saw Lin Su's ID card. Her birthday seemed to be December. So Qin Sheng checked on his phone. He didn't expect that it was really Lin Su's birthday. It was Lin Su's birthday. What should he give her? Qin Sheng was stumped. After all, Lin Su didn't lack any material things. Moreover, he couldn't afford it if it was too expensive. Chapter 141. Chapter 141. A chance encounter. Don't be stingy, give me some. If you have any opinions about this book or are not satisfied with the plot, you can leave a comment in the book review or circle. Thank you. Even if some people try to keep a low profile, they could not hide their existence in the crowd. Just like when Qin Sheng first met Lin Su, he saw Lin Su sitting in the corner and listening to music the moment he entered the bar. During that period of time, they traveled together and visited most of the places in southwest Sichuan. During that period of time, they experienced many things such as getting lost in the primeval forest, being chased by the Aborigines because of small conflict, encountering heavy rain and mudslides, etc. They already had a good impression of each other at that time. But Lin Su and Qin Sheng were both proud people. Qin Sheng did not have time to think about these at that time. Lin Su, on the other hand, restrained her inner feelings because she did not know Qin Sheng well. That was why they made the final parting promise. Maybe they believed in fate more. Shanshan Ruoshui seemed to be peaceful, but only a few people knew that there might be turbulence behind it. If it really passed to someone else, everyone knew that there would be a cleansing and reorganization. Today, after Qin Sheng got off work, he did not rush to the gym. Instead, he went to the bookstore. Unexpectedly, other than Xiao Lu, the other two were not there. After asking, he found out that they had taken leave for something. Anyway, this small shop did not have much business. They were all repeat customers. Xiao Lu could take care of it alone. Do whatever you want. I won't bother you. Xiao Lu sat at the cashier and said casually after greeting Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng was already very familiar with this place. Every time he came to the bookstore, he felt that time passed very quickly. He poured a glass of water, took a small stool, and sat under the bookshelf, casually flipping through those old books. His favorite sellers still did not send any books recently, which made Qin Sheng somewhat disappointed. Recently, Qin Sheng had taken a liking to reading historical books. It was wise to learn from the past and learn from the future by reading history. Other than those official and unofficial histories, Qin Sheng's favorite author of modern history was none other than Old Man Su Shu, Qian Mu. He could be said to be a generation's master of Chinese history. His book, The Gains and Losses of China's Past Dynasties, was highly praised by many people. There is also the Outline of National History, The Years of the Scholars of the Pre-Qin Dynasty, and so on. He could be considered to be a truly talented and knowledgeable person. It was very obvious that this bosom friend, whom he had never met before, liked Qian Mu quite a lot. There were too many annotations on the book, The Gains and Losses of China's Past Dynasties. For example, there was a sentence that said, "Talking about history can make people not be arbitrary. This is because things are too complicated. The pros and cons will only be seen after a long time. They're all laid out in history." This time, Qin Sheng found a book called 16 Lectures on National History. However, it was empty. Qin Sheng was fascinated by it. After an unknown period of time, Qin Sheng raised his head and intended to stretch his muscles and bones. After doing this for so long, he felt a little uncomfortable. After getting up, he realized that a man was standing beside him and staring at him with a smile on his face. Qin Sheng didn't know when he had done this. The man looked ordinary and was not tall. He was about 1.7 meters tall. He wore a pair of round iron-rimmed glasses and was dressed very well. He wore a woolen coat outside his suit and held a scarf in his hand. There is something that was formed from chaos. It was born from heaven and earth. It was lonely and sparse. It was independent and did not change. It was circular and did not perish. It could be the mother of the world. The man muttered to himself, "Young man, it seems like you like to read history books." The man used the word read instead of look. This word was very particular. A scholar was a scholar. Reading a book had a different meaning. The man looked like he was not even 40 years old. It was a little strange for him to call Qin Sheng a young man. However, Qin Sheng still asked politely, "Have you also read this book called 16 Lectures on National History?" The trajectory of history is always the same. It is very difficult for humans to make breakthroughs in their thinking. Therefore, reading more history books, no matter in life or work, is beneficial, the man said slowly. Then he looked up and smiled. The essence of feudalism is to divide land and people. The characteristics of the rural commune is that the land is shared, production is shared, and consumption is shared. Coupled with the original text, it was obvious that this man had read this book. At this moment, Xiao Lu ran over with a glass of water and handed it to the man. At the same time, he smiled politely and said, "Mr. Song, please have some water. He is the Qin Sheng that I told you about." "You are?" Qin Sheng was a little confused. Mr. Song pushed his glasses and replied, "Xiao Lu said that you bought all my books. Naturally, I have to come and see what kind of person the buyer is. Otherwise, my books will be in trouble." Qin Sheng suddenly understood. He quickly bowed slightly and said, "You are Mr. Huang Pu? I am not talented. I do not deserve to be called Mr. Song. You can just call me Brother Song." Mr. Song was very humble. Mr. Huang Pu was a nickname he gave himself. Every book had the words Mr. Huang Pu on the title page. Finally meeting his idol, Qin Sheng was a little at a loss. It was like a small fan meeting a big star. He really admired this man. He did not expect to finally meet him today. Qin Sheng did not know what to say. He could only move the stool over and said with a silly smile, "Please sit. It is rare that someone likes my books. I have met a soulmate. You don't have to be so polite and don't be too nervous. I am just an ordinary person. I'm not as mysterious as you think. Just treat me as a friend." Brother Song laughed. Xiao Lu, who was beside him, covered his mouth and laughed so hard that he bent over. It was rare to see Qin Sheng like this. He was really too cute. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Brother Song, I really like your books. The comments in your books are very special. They opened up a lot of ideas for me. I have nothing to do, so I just drew some murals. As long as you think it is useful." Brother Song smiled politely. The more Brother Song acted like this, the more Qin Sheng felt that Brother Song was someone important. He took the initiative to invite him. "Brother Song, why don't we find a place to sit?" Brother Song frowned slightly and hesitated. After a while, he said, "Next time. I have something to do today and came here on the way. I did not expect to meet you. I will leave you my phone number. If you're interested, you can come and talk to me." "All right, I will listen to you," Qin Sheng said excitedly. Brother Song told Qin Sheng his phone number and said, "If you like my books, come to my house another day. I have a lot of old books that I want to deal with. You can choose what you like." "That is great." To Qin Sheng, this news was like a pie falling from the sky. He quickly thanked him. Brother Song stood up slowly and said a few words with a smile. He then left. Qin Sheng walked Brother Song to the door before entering. After entering, Xiao Lu came up to him and said, "Mr. Song is a good person. He is a good friend of our boss." "Ha ha ha ha, I am so happy today. I did not expect to see Brother Song." Qin Sheng did not listen to Xiao Lu at all. He hugged Xiao Lu and shouted, "Ah!" Xiao Lu exclaimed and hugged Qin Sheng tightly. Qin Sheng then realized that he had lost his composure. He quickly put Xiao Lu down and said awkwardly, Sorry. I was too excited." "Good boy." Xiao Lu blushed and said coquettishly. After staying in the bookstore for a while, Qin Sheng returned to Shilin Huayuan to change his clothes and go to the gym. But when he came out of the neighborhood, he met an uninvited guest. This uninvited guest was his first girlfriend, Su Qin. Su Qin was driving a petite BMW Mini. She had been sitting in the car the whole time. It was not until Qin Sheng came out that she got out of the car and walked towards Qin Sheng slowly. Su Qin, who was thin in the first place, was wearing thin clothes. It seemed that she could not withstand the biting cold wind at all. "Why are you here?" Qin Sheng frowned. Su Qin shook her head and smiled bitterly. "Can I look for you? If we can't be lovers, can't we even be friends?" "That's not what I meant." Qin Sheng quickly shook his head. As he said, Su Qin had her own life. Qin Sheng did not want to break Su Qin's already peaceful life because of his appearance. So after returning to Shanghai, Qin Sheng did not take the initiative to look for Su Qin. He did not know that the owner of Young Bar was Su Qin. Su Qin took the initiative to invite him. "Let's find a place to sit." After Su Qin finished speaking, she turned around and got into the car without waiting for Qin Sheng's reply. Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and finally nodded. He followed Su Qin into the car and left. After the BMW Mini left, a red Maserati on the opposite side of the street drove into Jinlin Huayuan. This was Han Bing's car. The driver was naturally Hao Lei, but Han Bing was also sitting in the back and witnessed the scene at the door. Han Bing was a little jealous. "Hao Lei, do you know that woman?" Hao Lei did not know whether he should say it or not. With such a hesitation, Han Bing naturally knew the answer. She smiled bitterly and said, "I'm just asking." Qin Sheng's first love, Su Qin. After thinking about it, Hao Lei still told Han Bing. He also knew that today was such a coincidence. Qin Sheng and Su Qin did not contact each other. Why would she come to look for Qin Sheng? What was more speechless was that Han Bing saw it. This was King troublesome. Han Bing said faintly, "She is quite beautiful. Is she also from Xian?" "Yes, we are all high school classmates." Hao Lei replied. "I did not expect Qin Sheng to have such a beautiful first love. I really underestimated him. Is she also in Shanghai?" Han Bing continued to ask. She was more concerned about everything about Qin Sheng, not to mention that Qin Sheng's first love had appeared. Hao Lei nodded and said, "Yes, but they have already separated. Don't think too much about it. Maybe they're just old friends catching up." "What can I think too much about?" Han Bing curled her lips and snorted. "He's not here anymore. I won't go in. Send me back." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.